Microphone check. Good morning. Sorry, cut it off a little early. I went 3 times today instead of 2 times today. That's my bad. I caught a clip like right before we started, and I was trying to add it to the outline. So my bad on the extra time waiting. Thank you guys so much for being patient. Welcome to another episode of RTP Talks. It is Thursday, March 27th, 2025. It might feel like we've done 6 years in this administration so far. But no, indeed, it's just been a few months, just a couple of months. Don't tell me is it muted for somebody? I looked. I do need a good beard trim. I've been slacking. Thank you though. Thank you, Amy, for making me feel insecure this morning. I appreciate that. I'm kidding about that. I'm trying to decide if I let it go or just maybe we let it go the whole presidency. Can we do 4 years of this? 4 years of it. I'll shave it as soon as we have like a normal day in this administration. How about that? Weird day, man. It's just weird. The times are weird. Some of you guys I saw on TikTok yesterday, I went and hung out with Liv a little bit, and we talked about we were talking specifically about systemic racism and the revisionist history of the Republican Party in their deflection of what has become identity politics. Let me adjust this one on the vertical stream real quick. Actually, the camera angles there is a little weird. I was looking like I'm slumped down. But I actually just wanted to repeat something I said there because I don't think I've ever talked about it before. But when Romney was running for president, he was 2012 running against Obama. He ran a lot on this same platform that Trump's running on. And in the last, I don't know, let's call it 6 months. I'd have to go back and look at calendars, but I think like the last 6 months of the campaign, all of a sudden Donald Trump just showed up. And if you go read, Romney's pretty good about like not publicly throwing people under the bus. There's a couple stories I think I've told before, but there's some things that happened to Mitt Romney and to that campaign that certainly were no fault of his own. Certainly made a lot of the work that I did and the people that worked with me feel like it was useless. What we would do is we had ground teams. And we were severely overmatched by the Obama ground team. First of all, their ground team was incredible, and we weren't. But it's because like nobody had ever done what Obama had done before, so we thought we were ready. But we would essentially go around to registered Republicans or independents who had voted Republican previously, and we would go door to door with these scantrons. You guys really like the bubble sheet scantrons. And we would just ask them, like, are you planning on voting? Are you voting early? Or are you voting on Election Day? We'd fill in the bubble, and then, like, what time do you plan on voting on Election Day? Morning, afternoon, evening? And the idea was that this would create on Election Day a way to make sure everybody got to the polls. And on Election Day, I was in Iowa. I think I was in Sioux City on Election Day. I can't remember. But so we had these scantrons, and they were to go to Karl Rove. Karl Rove was like this architect. At the time, Republicans were like, Karl Rove is a genius. He's not considered a genius anymore by Republicans, but at the time he was. And so we took all these scantrons. People were paid to go door to door and do all this work. The Republicans spent millions of dollars on this program, but Rove wanted it to be a secret. Rove, I think, maybe thought like nobody's ever thought about scantrons before, and so they didn't beta test it. So on Election Day, Romney's entire get out the vote apparatus failed. It just didn't work. So what was supposed to happen is somebody who said they were voting in the morning would get a call in the morning, like, are you going to vote? And then in the afternoon, a return call, like, hey, did you go vote? And in the evening, did you go vote? Just reminding people to vote and reminding them that there were options locally that could help get them to the polls. You tell them where to go. I wasn't on that end of it. In fact, we looked at early polling and we thought Iowa was Romney's, and so we took off. Like we jumped on a plane and we connected through Chicago. And when we landed in Chicago, they were calling the election for Obama, and we were like, "What the fuck happened?" Like we thought we had this in the bag. So Romney's been pretty good about that. So he didn't really talk about Trump being part of the campaign, but somebody wrote a document or a book about him, and Romney was willing to be interviewed. And I'm trying to remember the name of the book. Let me see what the name of the book is. I actually highly recommend it, whether you're a Republican or not. I'm trying to remember who wrote this book. Is it No Apology? Is that the one? No, that's 2010. Simple Truths. What is it called? That's the one he wrote. It's called A Reckoning. Romney, A Reckoning. It was written by McKay Coppins, who is a fairly left-leaning author. Is that what you call it? Yeah, author, biographer. And in that book, he talks about Donald Trump, and he talks about Donald Trump's presence on that campaign and how Romney really didn't like Donald Trump's presence because Donald Trump was obsessed with birtherism. And Romney's dad marched with Dr. King. For all the policies Romney has supported that disproportionately affect black and brown people, there's at least the part of him that's like, I'm not like openly, I'm not going to be out here talking about racism. Like economically, like maybe racism happens and it is what it is because he's a capitalist. And so early on, Trump came in, endorsed Romney. They did a couple events together, and then Romney was basically like, I don't want anything to do with this guy anymore. Like, let's just, if he's insisting on being part of the campaign, let's send him out, and we'll send him out on his own, and we'll just send him to like these deep red places where like nobody's going to be offended, and it's not going to hurt us that Trump's out there. In fact, for some of these areas, it might help us. And that is when the Republican Party shifted and started talking almost exclusively about identity politics. And if you remember, like when John McCain ran, there were racists in the crowd, but they would ask John McCain, they're like, I don't trust Obama. He's a Muslim. He's a terrorist. He's a jihadist. And every time McCain would be like, no, don't do that. We're not doing that shit here. We're not doing the racist shit here. I know that you guys turn on Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck and Fox News, and they tell you that, but it's not true. We're not doing that shit here. Romney was the same way. But as soon as Trump was the guy, that became center stage. So the point of this is like, do not let people on the right tell you that the left's focus on identity politics is what brought this to the spotlight. It's absolutely not. It is 100% revisionist history to say that the left was forcing identity politics down people's throats and people got burned out from it. It's absolutely not true. What actually happened is Donald Trump elevated the voices of the racists, and it became the party platform. And those who maybe kept that shit to themselves suddenly felt like they could say it out loud. And those who don't really understand what's going on were like, wait, I am hearing about identity politics all the time. It must be the left. But it's not like they're turning on MSNBC. It's not like they're turning on CNN. They're turning on Fox News, and Fox News is telling them it's all about identity politics. And then CNN hosts a panel, and you have somebody come on from the right, and they're like, I'm tired of you guys talking about identity politics all the time. And the CNN response, the panelist response was always like, well, racism is a problem. And then instead of addressing the fact that like it wasn't brought up by the left, and the left is simply defending like, no, you can't pull back 100 years worth of progress. You don't get to pull it back. We're going to keep fighting for this so that you don't undo the progress that's been made, and we're going to continue to try and make progress. And somehow the right, and this is what they do with all messaging, that's mostly what today's show is going to be about. Don't let them play the game. Don't let them trick you into a conversation with the starting point being, you guys are all about identity politics, or you guys are all about whatever. Don't let them do it. Don't let them play the game, because that's what they're doing right now. And frankly, with this one, with SignalGate, which we'll get to in a little bit, it is so transparently obvious that they fucked up, that it was wrong, that they're incompetent, that their talking points aren't gaining any traction. They're losing support every second of the day. Every time they come out there and defend the actions of this administration, they're losing support. So I just wanted to brief with that. And I'll go out of order, actually, because I'll go to number 2. I don't know who's doing it. Anonymous Hippo. I don't remember who that is. Sorry. Actually, I do know who that is. I came across this clip maybe this morning of Megyn Kelly. She had on Jordan Peterson. God knows why. I didn't hear the whole interview. I just saw this clip. But listen to Megyn Kelly. Now, I don't know if this story's true. I can tell you that I think parts of this story are absolutely made up. To me, this story sounds like she made up a friend and she's trying to create a narrative that just doesn't exist. This is the type of shit that Republicans can't get away with, and we shouldn't let them get away with it. And rather than arguing like the semantics of this argument, Megyn Kelly's argument should be cut off at the knees that none of this shit happened. And like, there's nobody on the left forcing books on children. There's nobody on the left forcing ideology on children. It is Republicans pushing back on social acceptance of things that they think are icky. That's it.
I reached out to a couple of friends of mine who are on the left. And my one friend, or at least formerly of the left, my one friend has a son who is now 16 and who was, like she was, very left, a committed Democrat. And he's been raised.
Very left would not describe, in my opinion, a committed Democrat. Very left would be like Bernie Sanders, not a committed Democrat, a wishful independent that is gets stuck aligning with Democrats. That's what I would call like far left.
He's in New York City, surrounded by other Democrats, and gone through the school systems there, which are replete with Democrats. And he and many of his friends now are Trump-supporting, MAGA hat-wearing Republicans. And so I asked her, after I saw this article in NBC, and I knew you were going to come on today, I said, try to explain, in a nutshell, what did it? How did he have this dramatic transformation? Because I've known them. She summed it up as follows. She said, the main communication between government and young people is education. If the curriculum is that white voices don't matter anymore, that's alienating to every white boy out there. She said,
is that the curriculum anywhere? If this was true, this would be on a local level. If this was true, this would be an issue that you would take up with the local school board. So let's just say that this story's true. The mother in this story is a fucking idiot. She should go to the school board and say, what are we doing? What are we doing? If we're saying, like, why is this the curriculum? But instead, because nobody understands how this shit works, this made-up story, and Megyn Kelly understands how this works, and Jordan Peterson understands how this works, they know that curriculum would be decided on a local level. And I'm calling bullshit on the fact that it even exists. But do you see how they manipulate a story like this and turn it into, this is why we have to support a racist?
My son feels that they have blamed straight white men for everything. He is not allowed to read white male authors.
That's bullshit. There's just no chance that's true.
At school. And it reminded me, Jordan, of a story my one friend told me about his sister, who was a visiting professor at Smith College, where she came in. They asked her to come be a visiting professor. She was from Yale, and she taught English. And she got reported almost immediately to the dean of her group. Why? Not because her syllabus for the students had a bunch of white males on there, but because she had because there was a white male on the syllabus. Westmore and Ned Lamont and Gretchen Whitmer will never acknowledge any of this.
I've looked that up. I looked up that story. That's not what the reporting says. The reporting does not say that. So I don't know where she's getting that part of the story.
Nor, God forbid, say that it's a potential problem.
Yeah, well, that's more indication of just how deep the rot goes. I seriously can't see, and I don't say this with any satisfaction. I really like McGill University in Montreal. I had a great graduate education there. I had a great advisor. And I loved teaching at Harvard. And I really enjoyed the University of Toronto for the 20 years I was there before everything fell apart in about 2017. And I'm not the least bit happy to be pointing my finger at these institutions and say that they've not only lost their way, but that they're perverting and all of our young people and all of our institutions, and that they're clearly not salvageable.
By the way, if you want to look up the history of Smith College, go ahead. See Smith College's record on race. There's a story of a student who I think it's a member of the janitorial staff comes up and is like, "What are you doing here?" It was a black student, and she's like, "I'm a student here," and he wouldn't believe her, and then he accused her of potentially having a weapon. Smith College isn't; they're not exactly a bastion of racial equality. Haley said, $5 train to run over the dumb dicks, thanks. And Joyful, $2 train, thanks for joining. Johnny Longballs said, I'm early. Balls. Thank you. I just called you Johnny Longballs instead of Johnny Lawn Trail. I think it's time for you to change your name. I think Johnny Longballs is the new name for you. Anyway, so just don't let them get away with that. Ask people for sources. Did you hear a single source in that story? A friend, a friend, a friend. It's how they tell all their stories. It's always a story when it comes to like race stuff with these people. It's never like, oh, here's a confirmed story from the New York Times or from the New York, whatever it might be, New York Post. I don't know. Right wingers don't seem to read. Like, there's not a lot of print journalism for the right, but whatever the ones that do read, they never have a source for that. It's always just a friend. Joe Rogan does the same thing. I have a friend. Get this. I have a friend. His wife is a school teacher. And she said that they have litter boxes in the bathrooms. It turned out to be a bolt. Like a day later, he's like, oh, yeah, I checked with her, and I guess she doesn't work there anymore. And I know they checked with the school, and the school said that never happened. But, yeah, it probably happened. I'll just keep going with it. I'm not going to apologize for lying about this. Maybe the friend lied. I don't know. It's always a story, though. Reminder to you, just a daily reminder. We literally can do this every day. It's a daily reminder that while they talk about people who are conditioning children, people who are trafficking children, people who are abusing children. This is North Dakota Republican Senator Ray Holmberg, who was just sentenced to 10 years in prison for traveling to Prague to have sex with children. So just a daily reminder, it's always the Republicans. You will almost never find a Democrat who's arrested for messing with children. It happens occasionally, but like 95% of the time, it's a white conservative man. Almost every time. And that man is probably openly talking about the dangers of gay people and the dangers of the southern border and human trafficking. And then they're out there just doing it themselves. This is hard to watch. I'm going to give you a trigger warning for this. This is a video. Well, let me read I'll read the article first, then I'm going to show you the video actually. Oh, son of a bitch. Jen, will you take, if you're here, Jen, will you pull, what number was that? Number 4 on the headlines and get me the archived version of that so I can read it. I'll show we'll just reverse it. I'll show the video first. A Tufts Tufts University student was detained yesterday. Right. Thanks, Jen. Was detained by ICE. It was caught on CCTV footage. As far as we know, the only thing that this student did wrong is write an article that was pro-Palestinian. That's the only thing we can find so far. She's here on a student visa. Her name is Romisa Ozturk. I'm terrible with these names, so I apologize. Blame it on my Mormon upbringing and everybody having the last name Smith. But here's the CCTV footage. Simply all she did is she was part of the journal, editor's board there, and just said, like, hey, the university needs to condemn the violence by Israel and divest from companies with ties to Israel. And now she's being confronted arrested and detained because of her opinion. Like, where the fuck are our freedom of speech folks here? What happened to freedom of speech? We just abandoned it, like, immediately. We're 2 months into the Trump administration. We no longer have freedom of speech. It is incredibly limited what you are allowed to say in this country now.
Where the police? Yeah, you don't look like it. Why are you hiding your faces?
Where is Tufts at?
for the
I'm not
sub.
sure where Tufts University. Let's see. I think Tufts is in New York, isn't it? Or Pennsylvania, Massachusetts. Tufts University is in Massachusetts. So she's detained, and then, of course, because they can't have these liberal judges who care about things like freedom of speech, you got to send them to Louisiana, where the judges don't give a goddamn about freedom of speech.
Why are you hiding your face?
Anyways, tough to watch. Thank you, Jen. So we can pull this up. Jesus Christ. While that's loading, you ignore me as everybody else does. The Antichrist spirit is here because white people don't want to live in their divine whiteness, be Christians, and preach the name of Jesus. Jesus Christ. Get it together. Get it together. Nobody here is talking about Jesus today. Save that for church. Shit, that won't load. All right. Well, I'll just have to get it later. I don't know. My computer always has problems loading those. Devin said early contribution. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Okay, Jamie TP. Thank you. And Allie said you should do no shave Napoleon bone spur presidency instead of no shave November. All right. I like that. We're on board for the long beard. I appreciate that. It's good to have the mission. Good to have the missionary here in the chat, by the way, too. Welcome, Elder. It's nice to have you. Shit? What is this? I forgot to title this. Oh, that's the video. Okay. All right. This is this is tough to read. Sorry again. I don't know. Trigger warning here, but this is a story of from Mother Jones. This is Neri Alvarado. He was working in Dallas as a baker. He was detained, and the ICE agent that detained him told him that they were questioning all men with tattoos. Here is his tattoo. This is an autism awareness tattoo in honor of his 15-year-old brother who has autism. Initially, an ICE agent, after going through this, told Neri Alvarado, we're finding and questioning everyone who has tattoos. And then after he explained it, he had to stay. He remained detained, and then he was sent to El Salvador. I was looking here. Still, Alvarado was detained by ICE outside his apartment in early February and brought in for questioning. Juan Enrique Hernandez, the owner of 2 Venezuelan bakeries in the Dallas area and Alvarado's boss, told Mother Jones. One day later, Hernandez went to see him in detention and asked him to explain what had happened. Alvarado told Hernandez that an ICE agent had asked him if he knew why he had been picked up. Alvarado said that he did not. Well, you're here because of your tattoos, an ICE agent replied. We're finding and questioning everyone who has tattoos. The agent then asked Alvarado to explain his tattoos and for permission to review his phone for any evidence of gang activity. You're clean, the ICE agents told Alvarado after he complied. I'm going to put down here that you have nothing to do with Tren de Aragua. For reasons that remain unclear, then, Hernandez said that another official in ICE's Dallas field office decided to keep him detained. And then Maria Alvarado said her brother told the same story. Where were these comments that I was looking for? Was it here? Where are they? Son of a. Sorry. I'll have to find those comments later. Just more. Look at this. So we have ICE detaining people for their speech. We have ICE detaining people for their tattoos. And just a reminder that Trump, on his way out the very first time, said we fucked up so bad in Venezuela that the Venezuelan citizens who have immigrated to the United States and do not have citizenship here, that they are to be left alone. That it's our fault that they're here, and he granted pretty much blanket temporary protected status to all these Venezuelans. The difference between this administration and the last administration is crazy. He, on his way out of office, he's like, hey, make sure, don't punish these Venezuelans for my actions. And these are the same Venezuelans that now he's like, punish them, just punish them, send them back. Miss Terry, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. All right, moving on. Tim, why do I always forget this guy's last name? Tim from the Bulwark. Tim Miller is his name. Was on Piers Morgan. He took a break from going on Piers Morgan, which I can imagine. But he showed up last night again in a big way, going after our favorite idiot, Dave Rubin. This was beautiful.
I find it hard to imagine that my co-panelists from MAGA world are going to start clutching their pearls over somebody making a mean joke at somebody, then that's like the core to the president of the United States' entire ethos.
It's you guys who get outraged over jokes.
States
That's the difference.
Made it. Excuse me, Dave?
Tim, the difference is that we are not the people who get outraged over every joke and every word and every sort of innuendo. It's you guys.
My experience says otherwise. That all they do is get outraged, literally about everything. There's nothing that, except for like racism and bigotry, that stuff they don't get outraged of, but literally everything else. Like right now, they're mad at us for criticizing Pete Hegseth. They're mad about that. Why can't you guys just shut the fuck up and let them do what's best for America?
Go ahead. What's it good?
So I'm not outraged at the joke. I'm outraged at the fact that a human rights campaign fundraiser where it's about all the marginalized people and the perceived oppression of the trans people and everything else, that there she's making a joke about disabled people and they're laughing about it. I'm not outraged at the joke.
What they're talking about is a joke that Jasmine Crockett made. She called Governor Abbott Hot Wheels. I'm gonna be honest. I don't believe her. I love you know how much I love Jasmine Crockett. I think Jasmine Crockett called him Governor Hot Wheels because she hates Greg Abbott, and she made a joke about the fact that he's in a wheelchair. And honestly, her explanation, I think she's lying. If we're just being honest, like we can find it. Jasmine, her response, I don't think she's telling the truth about this. I'll pull it up actually. I realize that not everybody knows. Let's see this story. It was not. Luckily for Jasmine Crockett, the Trump administration does so many crazy things that it mostly went on deaf ears. Let me see if I can find the apology. Let's see. Man, nobody wants to show her statement. They just want to. All right. Well, I can't find it. Essentially, she came out. She said something about like transportation. I don't believe her. I think she said what she said, and I think she should have just apologized for being insensitive. I don't believe her apology, but not the biggest deal.
I make far worse jokes than that on my show every single day.
Let me bring in. So we're slicing it kind of thin there. So we're going to pretend to be outraged about her joke when the president of the United States core brand is making these sort of jokes. So I wouldn't, if I was her, I wouldn't have put out the statement afterwards. If it's me, I don't know. I think that Dave's kind of business model over there. I don't take money from any Russian assets. That's just me. So I'm able to just kind of say what I really think
money from
on here with
MSNBC,
Dave. You never know.
Dave Rubin is dog shit at talking shit. Dave Rubin he doesn't have an original bone in his body, and he's not clever. He's like, I didn't take money from Russia. He's like, yeah, you just take it from MSNBC. Yeah, news organizations in our country. That's the same as taking money from like Russian state media. It's not the same thing, Dave Rubin.
So I understand why he might not, he might want to pick his spots.
All right. Well, let me bring in.
That's some great work you're doing at Bulwark, a real solid place of journalism over there.
Well, we haven't taken any money from the Russians at the Bulwark, Piers. I don't know if you know this, but Dave took $400,000 per month from a Russian information operation. And so you'd understand why.
And what was the name of the show that I did for the Russians? Tell me that.
Right now is just handing.
It was called the Rubin Report. That's what it was called, Dave Rubin. The Russian show show you did for them. It was your show. It's called the Rubin Report.
Tell me
things
that.
over to the Russians. that he has to pretend to be outraged about things. You know, just you don't know who's paying the bill.
What was the name of the show I did for the Russians, champ?
Rubin Report.
It was Tenet Media that paid you. Tenet Media
What was the name of the show?
Right?
What was the name of the show?
$400,000 per month and a $100,000 signing bonus. That not you?
Yeah, you just literally don't know what you're talking about, which is standard. You work for MSNBC and the Bulwark. It's impressive.
All right,
okay, so that wasn't you then. You weren't commentator one in that indictment there, Dave? That wasn't you?
Yeah, I was commentator one. It was nice to read something honest about me, that I did all my due diligence trying to figure out what was going on over there. What was?
By the way, if you look at their numbers, if you compare their YouTube numbers, which is where they both exist mostly, the Bulwark puts up similar numbers. In fact, lately the Bulwark has bigger numbers than Dave Rubin, and they have 1.3 less million subscribers. So I don't know. I think it's funny that Dave Rubin's like, oh, you know, you look at you working for the Bulwark. Well, you work for you. You got let go from the Blaze. Nobody in conservative media wants to work with you. You're putting up the same numbers, Dave.
What was the name of the show? Tell me about the propaganda I put out there.
What was the name of the show that was paying you? Tenet Media was a Russian.
What was the name of the show?
It was an RT cutout.
Yeah.
It was a Russian
cutout.
RT,
you're talking about.
An RT cutout. They were paying you. I've never been paid by a Russian cutout, so I don't exactly know how it all works.
You're paid by MSNBC, which is state-owned propaganda. You're paid by the Bulwark.
Yeah, no, it's not. See, this is the thing with Dave. This is the problem with conservatives. Like, everything that they actually, like, the stuff that they say isn't true. So in order for Dave Rubin to defend the fact that he's taking money from Russia to do Russian propaganda, he calls MSNBC state-run media because he's taking money from state-run media. But even if MSNBC was state-run media, let's say the United States government owned MSNBC and they directed their programming, that still would not be worse than doing programming for Russian state-run media. That would still be worse. Like, the whataboutism here from Dave Rubin, and the reason he can get away with this is because nobody on the right gives a shit. Like, they literally don't care what any of these people say. They don't have any principles of their own. They just show up and they root. They're the best fans in the world. Like, if you had a sports team and all of you, like, if MAGA had a team, like Team MAGA, and they put them in the NBA, they'd be dead last because it would be exclusively white American-born players and not a recipe for success in the NBA. But their fans would be unbelievable. Every year they would go like 2-80 and never make the playoffs. And then you would have MAGA Dave Rubin out there as the coach, like, hey, guys, we won another championship this year. Just another great season for the MAGA NBA squad. We have no athletes. We can't win any games, but we won the championship somehow. And MAGA would be like, yay, and they would just hang a banner. They just put it up there. Like, that's 30 straight years that we won an NBA title. 30 straight years. Racist thought. What's racist about that? In the NBA, tell me the best white American-born players. How many great white American-born players are there in the NBA? Not very many. The best white players are foreign-born. You have Luka Doncic. You have Jokic. Yeah, that's not even racist. That's just reality. Is that American-born white players don't usually do very well in the NBA. My favorite player of all time, Jimmer Fredette, couldn't cut it in the NBA. He's a friend of mine. Love that man. Couldn't cut it. Couldn't make it. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you about that. All right. Also, weird to say, like, somehow that that we could be racist. Like, me saying there's not white American-born players in the NBA could be racist. See, this is what I'm talking about. Remember how they're like, it's always identity politics with these people. Nope, it was you. You guys immediately went identity politics. Immediately, as we just lay out something that's true. Because if MAGA put a team together, you know what you guys don't like? You don't like black and brown people, and you don't like immigrants. So you're stuck with white American-born players. That's what you're stuck with. That's it. If you're going to pigeonhole yourself like that, that's what you're stuck with. But don't worry, you can hang those banners. And I know you guys would root for them every single day. Every day you would root for them. And I appreciate that about you. Honestly, it's commendable that you guys are that loyal to MAGA. Speaking of MAGA and not living in reality, this is what you're while they claim that they're cutting funding and they're trying to cutting spending, and they're trying to save Americans money. We're also paying for Kristi Noem to play dress up every single day and go do propaganda videos. That's her job now. She just goes and does propaganda videos, like 8 outfit changes a day. It's expensive as hell to go there. I don't know who paid for all of her plastic surgery. If you had a side-by-side here of Kristi Noem now and Kristi Noem 10 years ago, you would have no idea it's the same person. But that's what it is. Like when you have state-run media, which we basically have now, they're trying to do propaganda. This is what you do. You don't worry about like content. You don't really worry about like how truthful it is. You just put somebody out there that you view as pretty, and people will listen to her. And here's Kristi Noem now down in El Salvador doing a propaganda video telling people, if you come to America, you're gonna wind up in El Salvador.
At CCOT today and visiting the
would smash though
this facility. And first of all, I want to thank El Salvador and their president for their partnership with the United States of America to bring our terrorists here and to incarcerate them and have consequences for the violence that they have perpetuated in our communities. I also want everybody to know, if you come to our country illegally, this is one of the consequences you could face. First of all, do not come to our country illegally. You will be removed and you will be prosecuted. But know that this facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use if you commit crimes against the American people.
Yeah, Beth, good point. Her ads are constantly on TV and are costing us $200 million. Quick reminder that when Trump appointed her, he's like, hey, your job is to be a propagandist. We're going to throw $200 million your way, and you're going to go create ads to put on TV. But make sure that the first set of ads is just you thanking me. I need you to create ads of you thanking me so everybody knows this is all me. Like I don't know how you guys at this point are still saying, oh, no, he's not a dictator. No, we don't worship him. Bro, this guy is like, Kim Jong-un is sitting in North Korea going like, fuck, man. How come he gets to do this? What is he? He gets to go. He goes and plays golf all the time. He's literally doing Kim Jong-un's playbook. Remember when Kim Jong-un, or maybe it was his dad, Kim Jong-il, I think it was. Remember when they said he played golf for the first time and he got like 14 hole-in-ones? He shot like a 21 or some shit like that. I can't remember what it was. It was some insane score. Yeah, that's as believable as Donald Trump winning club championships, which he never wins. He literally creates divisions for himself. He's the only person playing in them, and then he just wins. And then they put out like hype videos of him winning club championships. It's unbelievable. But that's what we're doing here. As we're just doing propaganda. And shout out to the Republicans here in the chat. Let's see if we can get you more triggers. Stick around. It's not going to get better for you guys today. And this is what we have to do every single day now. Every single day, we need to remind Americans that all of this is a fugazi. All of it. It's all bullshit. It's all a show. It's reality TV, which ironically is the only job Donald Trump has ever been good at. He was terrible at real estate. He was terrible with Trump Steaks, Trump Waters. He couldn't own. He was terrible when it came to casinos. Literally, Donald Trump sucks at every single job he's ever done, except for reality TV, which is why every time things aren't going well for him or he gets real power, he's like, hey, the one thing that I've ever been good at, the one thing that Americans ever agreed I was good at was reality TV. So let's do that. Jumar says MAGA sports teams, delusional. MAGA sports teams. The delusional ones are Cowboys fans. The losers are Browns. Cam says the team does exist. It's the 49ers. That's a low blow, Cam. That is a low blow to call my 49ers the MAGA team. And it's a little bit accurate, and it also hurts my feelings. So while MAGA's out there doing events, propaganda events, while they're running from their constituents, while they're running from town halls, while they refuse to answer any questions, while they're running currently defense of Pete Hegseth and the morons who can't figure out that classified documents shouldn't go on, or classified conversations shouldn't go on Signal. While that's happening, Democrats are going out with the people. Here is Ayanna Pressley at an event yesterday, and you won't see the speaker here, but you can hear the speaker and their subtitles. And this is what Americans are feeling. This truly is what's happening to everyday Americans.
I have a daughter who works for USA, and she's stuck over in another country and can't come home. I got 7 more years before I retire. They get ready to take the money that I worked hard for since I was 16 years
In November, this woman had a daughter overseas working for USAID, and she could come home. She could come to visit. In November, this woman, who is 57 years old and is 7 years from retirement, is still working and knows, when I retire, I'll have Social Security. I don't know if she's, I don't know about Medicare. I don't know what her situation is there, but like, I'm going to have a retirement. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to make it. And now, in three short months, she no longer can see her daughter, and she's not, and they're going to cut, or at least attempt to cut her benefits for her retirement that's in 7 years. Imagine being 57 years old and facing this reality right now. What are you going to do? Start a new career at 57? Suddenly you're going to save all this extra money for your retirement that you probably can't afford to do? This is the reality of millions of Americans. And shout out to Ayanna Pressley for going out and hearing these stories and letting people speak. These stories need to be amplified, because this isn't Democrat, Republican. It's not left. It's not right. It's reality. For people who don't have a massive savings or a massive retirement account, who are scraping pennies together, knowing that in 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, they're going to have Social Security, and that's what they are expected to live off of. To be that person and look at this administration, and this administration is threatening to take that away, this isn't partisan. This message works everywhere. If I were Democrats, this is all I would do. All I would do is hold town halls, and I would hold Republican town halls. I would go into red districts and I would say, let's come talk about it. What are they going to yell at you about? You guys are being mean to Pete Hegseth. No, nobody's going to care about that. Talk about Social Security. Talk about health care. Talk about government funding that's being cut. Talk about people being stuck overseas. Talk about this all day long.
And now I'm 57, and I won't have nothing. And I'm struggling. I am struggling. And they don't get it. I don't understand. Democrats, we gotta get down and dirty.
Look, first, let me just say this. Thank you for being here. Because what you are managing, so many people, understandably so, would be in a fetal position in the corner, in bed right now. But you were here advocating for your baby girl, fighting for yourself, and other workers like her and you. I want to express my gratitude to both of you, because the humanitarian work of USAID is essential. I thank you for being here. Y'all, I really do look forward to a day where no one has to relive their trauma to compel action from their government. I am so sorry that you felt you had no other choice but to do that. But I heard you out fighting for you and your daughter, and we'll be in touch after this, okay?
I like that, tough luck. You wouldn't be saying that if you were as successful as those billionaires. Yeah, maybe not. You know, maybe those of us who aren't billionaires, maybe if we were billionaires, we would be selfish too. Cool story. You don't have an answer for this. None of you guys have a fucking answer for any of this. None of you. Every single day I sit here for 3.5 hours and I invite Republicans to come up and defend these positions. Or criticize my positions, or take apart my positions, and it never happens. And it never happens not because I think all of you are cowards, although some of you are. It's because you know deep down you don't have answers for this, and you know your party doesn't have answers for this, and you know your party is only doing the bidding of rich people. And instead of just admitting that to yourself, you all play the same game. We see it every single day here. You all come and say the exact same thing every single day. Every single day. Well, it's both parties. It's both sides. They both don't care about. Yeah, that's what I would say too if my party was literally not doing a single thing for me. At least on our side, we can say there's people like Ayanna Pressley who are trying. At least we can point to Bernie Sanders and say they're trying. We can point to AOC and say they're trying. We can point to people on our side of the aisle and say they're trying. And then we can point to Chuck Schumer and we could say that guy's got to go. We can point to Nancy Pelosi and say she's got to go. We can point to what's Pennsylvania guy's name, John Fetterman, say he's got to go. We could recognize that there are people on our side of the aisle that aren't doing things for the American people, and the easiest way for us to figure out who's doing stuff for the American people and who's not is who agrees with Republicans, who votes with Republicans, because Republicans never do anything for the American people. They only do things for the billionaire class. So it's actually really easy for us to identify. It's like, let's see. Tax cut for the billionaires again? Oh, yep. Not doing anything for the American people. And then you have Bernie Sanders, who literally has held the same positions for, I think he's been in Congress now 113 years. And he's held the exact same position, that we should not have a system that is rigged towards the billionaires. So we have a group of people that we can look to, and we can say at least these people are trying. And if we elevate those voices, and if those voices become more popular, that means more people will replicate what they're doing, run for office, and eventually we can do something for the American people. But it starts with getting Republicans out of power, and then it takes those people, getting rid of the people who sat back and let the Republicans gut our country and hand over all the wealth to billionaires. So look, again, you guys can come in here every day. None of you are ever going to come up here and have a conversation because you can't. Because you know that you don't have a position. It just makes you mad that I'm saying shit. It just makes you mad that I'm saying things that are true that you don't have an answer. Even if you don't think they're true, you don't have answers for them. It makes you mad that I'm criticizing Republicans. And that says a hell of a lot more about you than it does about me. Because I have the courage to come up here 3.5 hours a day and defend it, and you don't. So get a little courage. If you care about the country, have the discussion. If you care about what's best for the country, have the discussion. Sit down with people that you disagree with and have the discussion. Or sit in the comments and keep saying, like, oh, soy boy, how much does the DNC pay you? Oh, you're a grifter. Same shit every day. When you hear the same insults every day, they don't land as well anymore. By the way, so you got to be a little more creative with your insults. But this stuff Ayanna Pressley's doing, this matters. This will work. Nobody hears that. Nobody here heard that video and was like, yeah, we should totally just let the seniors die. Let's just let them die. It's fine. Nobody thinks that. And if you think that, say it loudly, please. Full chest, take out billboards. You guys are all, since you're all so rich, take out billboards, take out ads, put them all over the TV. Let the old people die. Go for it. See how that goes for you. Now you'll see the difference between somebody with class and a brain like Ayanna Pressley and an absolute dumpster fire in Marjorie Taylor Greene here. Marjorie Taylor Greene's biggest fear in life is being asked
from the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay, do you care?
Yeah, G-Money, it's cool. You're working class and you proudly voted straight red. Yeah, you don't know how economics work. You proudly voted against your best interests. I appreciate that. Come defend a position.
No, you should care about your own border.
Representative.
All right, so this is a reporter from Sky News asking Marjorie Taylor Greene a question that literally everybody is going to be asked. If you're in Congress and you have a group text that we find out from national security leaders where they were sharing classified information, every single person in Congress should expect to be asked this question. And Marge doesn't want to be asked any questions. Marge just wants people to believe her and do QAnon shit. And so it makes Marge mad when people ask her questions.
To the media today, have you seen the new information revealed by the Atlantic magazine about the signal texts?
We're talking about NPR and PBS, not the Atlantic.
But do you believe that this was classified information that was shared on that
No,
group?
the administration has said it is not classified information. I think this is a continuance of someone like you to try to push an issue that
They actually didn't say that. The administration has not said this is not classified information. Some people in the administration have said that, which is a bizarre thing to do. Like, again, like as a Republican, they just lie right to your face and you eat it up. It's absolutely classified information. Abso-fucking-lutely. In what world before a strike, would you telling people when the strike is going to happen and what weapons you're going to use? In what world is that not classified information? Yeah, we can pull up the definitions again from yesterday if you'd like, but again, what world is that not classified? Only in the world of MAGA, where you never admit that you were wrong about anything.
Even relevant, and I think that we're carrying on. Thank you.
Detail of timings and weapons, is that not classified information?
Yes. Anybody else?
Should the Defence Secretary and the Vice...
Wait, what country are you
from? The UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay, do you care?
No. You should care about your own borders.
Do you care about American lives being put at risk?
Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care about
American? No, do you care? Okay,
do you care about American lives being put at...
What about has been strong with MAGA? Answer the question. Why do you allow your elected leaders to stand up there and not answer questions? Why are you guys cool with this?
Risk about service members fighting
Marjorie Taylor Gremlin.
And your Vice President and your Defense Secretary.
Yeah, this is an American journalist. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm an American, and I'd like to hear your answer to what she's asked.
I'm not answering her question because I don't care about her network. If you would like to ask, I can answer.
Do you have any concerns whatsoever about the complete disregard of operational security from the top level of this administration?
You want to know about complete disregard about operational security? You should talk about the Biden administration, how they ripped our borders.
Oh, remember, in the Signal chat, hey guys, if any of this shit leaks, blame Joe Biden. Just blame Joe Biden. It's so fucking transparent. Everybody in the chat knew it was coming. Everybody. How many people in the chat before it even showed up? Here comes the Biden whataboutism. It's so goddamn predictable. It's like a magic 8-ball, except for every time it stops on blame Joe Biden. You want to talk about incompetence? Talk about Joe Biden. Well, bitch, we're talking about you.
To terrorist, cartel, child sex trafficking, human trafficking, and
I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have. I usually call the MAGA men bitches. I feel bad about saying that to Marjorie Taylor Greene. That was a slip of the tongue, and I apologize to everybody here. I shouldn't have said that.
Drug trafficking across our borders for 4 years. The Trump administration is doing a great job, and I stand by their statements.
So you have
I stand by their statements.
About
my comment to you is I'm thankful to President Trump that he is leading us out of wars, that he's ending the war in Ukraine, where America...
He is? He is? When? When's he ending that war in Ukraine? When are these wars ending? He's doing all the things he promised, except for he's not doing any of the things. When? Last I checked, which was about, what time is it? It's 10:30, about an hour ago. Last I checked, there was still a war in Ukraine. I guess, and we're no closer to stopping it. Last I checked.
Lives could have been killed if Joe Biden was still president today, whether he liked it or not. We're talking about NPR and PBS today. We're talking about fake news that was funded with federal funding from American taxpayers. That's what this is about today, not journalists.
Yeah, except for how'd that hearing go? Remember we played, because the Republicans complained that we didn't play the Republicans' arguments. So yesterday we played 5 minutes of James Comer pointing out all the fake news that NPR had put up, and every single story was true, like verifiably true. And most of them were just like, here's what happened in Congress today. James Comer said this and Jared Moskowitz said this. And they're like, yeah, that's fake news. It's like, those are quotes, dude. Like, you can't report quotes now?
But a journalist is being vilified for exposing failings in the way that your government conducts itself. Is that not that journalist doing a good job? Does Defence Secretary Hegseth need to resign over this, Representative?
Absolutely not. He's doing a great job.
Doing a great job. Real bang-up job.
Putting American service members' lives at risk.
Your country's going to put
this is deflect
lives fighting a war in Ukraine that's not even a member of NATO.
Is this an exercise in deflection?
This would be an exercise in you worrying about your own country.
She's a terrible shit talker too. They all are. She just keeps going. Terrible shit talker. If you're gonna talk shit, Marge, you got to step up your game a little bit. Again, just every time we show a clip of the Republicans, I'm going to show you a clip of Democrats. This happened yesterday in shout out Tennessee Holler. This is Justin Pearson yesterday. I'll just let him explain. I actually won't explain any of this clip. It plays out.
About the gun violence epidemic. And now is the time to do it. And I will continue to advocate for that because I believe in it.
Sorry, the one thing I should say is Tennessee they're in session. He's been calling for some changes or doing something to stop the epidemic of gun violence. And he's just basically saying, like, we're passing bills about trans kids, we're banning books, but we're not doing anything about the epidemic of gun violence.
We need to do something about the gun violence epidemic. And now is the time to do it. And I will continue to advocate for that because I believe in it. Personally, from our family's own experience to the experiences of too many people in our district and in our community who are suffering from the lack of good laws and good regulation. You don't have to throw out responsible gun ownership in behalf of the Second Amendment.
I know every member in this committee's been here this year working during committee, during session, voting on bills.
Yes, sir.
And I know you may have some things going on, but you have not. So I don't think it's fair for you to come in front of this committee and lecture us on hard work and convictions. We've been here working.
Thank you, Chair Farmer, for your comments. They incense me. They make me very, very angry, not just because of the lack of regard, but the disrespect and the same denigrating tone that you used on the State House floor when the vote to expel me happened. It's disrespectful. It's unbecoming, and it's beneath the standard of a person who's supposed to represent in the Tennessee House of Representatives. It is a pathetic excuse for you to not answer the question of why we are doing nothing about the gun violence epidemic than to personally attack me. My brother, Temperance Darnell Pearson, one of the loves of my life, passed away from gun suicide on December 1st of 2024. Shattered my family like gun violence has shattered so many families. Shattered my nephew's lives, my mother, my father, my other brothers who are remaining. I buried my brother. I planned for his entire funeral. My fiance made his obituary. I made sure that he was taken care of, even in death. That's what I've been doing. But also, not just that, I went to all of my nephew's schools. I met with their principals and their teachers to ensure that they are okay. I made sure that they had grief counseling and that they're seeing a psychiatrist. That's what I've been doing. And while you're talking about hard work, you need to realize that our job is not just in this state house with these marble floors. Our jobs are on the streets and in the communities that we serve. And so while you've been here passing bills that have been hurting transgender children, while you've been here passing bills that have been hurting the poor, hurting the marginalized, hurting the disenfranchised, while you've been here passing bills that have not ended poverty, while you've been here passing bills that have not helped people who need Medicaid expansion, while you've been here doing the hard work of making sure that our state is not the state that it can be because you have decided.
Representative Pearson.
I've been in my community.
Thank God for whoever kept recording this. Then they cut his mic. Bro, if somebody says that you can't speak on the floor because you were at home taking care of a tragedy and you're making sure that kids of a parent who tragically took their own life, and you're out doing that work, and somebody just basically says you have no work ethic, and you have every right to be this upset. But the people in Tennessee and Republicans in general cannot handle criticism. They cannot handle this type of emotion, and so they cut the mic. But luckily, we have somebody that's filming here that kept recording.
Meeting with seniors, meeting with young people. That's what I've been doing. Hard work doesn't just happen with this legislation. It happens in our communities.
Representative Pearson.
While you've been here doing that, I've been in my community. And it's taking your grief and your pain and your heartache and it's standing in front of people who you know may not like you. Standing in front of people who you know will disrespect you. You need to pass better laws, better legislation, and fight for a state where everybody is able to live more freely from the pain of gun violence that me and my family are experiencing. That's what you need to think about, Chairman Farmer. And if you can't think that, learn to shut up. Learn to shut up.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Representative Pearson, it seems that it's very common in your party when you disagree with a comment. Now, it's not disrespectful to you.
Oh, the fuck you weren't. You literally said, with all due respect, you can't criticize bills that we've passed here because you weren't here because you were taking care of your family. The fuck you didn't disrespect him. The fuck you didn't. No accountability ever from these people. Fucking ever.
I have a family. I've made sacrifices every year. So you can't...
Pearson, I know this is a very difficult time for you to be back up here. I'm sorry for all the things that you've experienced. You've been a great uncle. You've done the things that you were supposed to do to help your family. If I was in the same situation you were in, I would be doing the same thing. I understand that. Okay. I know tensions are high.
Disrespect is high, Chairman.
We are now voting to send House Bill 1392 on to full judiciary.
Mr. Chairman, you have 2 ayes, 7 nays.
The noes prevail. House Bill 1392 fails.
Hey, Representative Pearson, no, sir. No, sir. No.
Don't touch him. Do not touch him. Do not.
What kind of bitch-made grown man sits there and looks away? What kind of coward? This is the cowardice of the Republican Party. This is what they all do. They legislate away people's rights. They legislate away people's freedoms. And they don't even have the courage to turn around and face the people that they disrespect. That's what being a Republican is. It wasn't always that way, but it is now. Now you can't really defend any of this shit, can you? Not in public. You can do it like the people in the chat. You can do it behind a screen name. You can do it behind. That's why none of you put your name in there. It's always some sort of like MAGA patriot freedom lover. You can all do this. You guys all have so much courage behind a screen name. And I'm not talking about like physical violence. I'm talking about if you're going to say some shit like that, turn around. Turn around. 10 toes down. But no, you're a coward. This is an absolute coward. And frankly, I mean, Justin Loss is cool here, but that would have been way worse if it was me. So he's probably gonna get in trouble. He broke the rules, and that's fair. But this right here, this is cowardice. And Republicans, you should remember this. Because at some point, some piece of legislation that Republicans push through might hurt your family. And this is what they'll do. They will turn their back on you. I can't imagine a more telling picture to describe the difference between the parties than here, fighting for the American people, fighting for the people who don't have as much of a voice, fighting for the right to take care of your family when something horrific happens, and Republicans who are gutting all of your freedoms, gutting all government benefits, and never having the courage to face the music. Cowardice is so strong in the Republican Party. And we could do this all day. We could do this all day. You had Marge there right before running away from the question. Now you got this guy running away. It's all a show, and they're all cowards. And the only reason that they vote and do the things that they do is because they feel protected by Trump. Because Trump is such an unequivocal piece of shit that they're like, oh, well, if he can take it, I can take it. And when I get criticized, I'm just going to run away from it. Hey, Jen. I would never join the military. On purpose? You guys should join the military on purpose? I'm not interested in going and killing people overseas for no goddamn reason. Pass. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, that's a no thank you. So one thing I've noticed is, when I'm logged in as RTP, I don't see the flag comments, but when I'm logged in as myself, I see all the YouTube flag comments. A lot of you guys are very, very angry. I don't know if you take blood pressure medication, but if you do, I would maybe recommend you might want to grab some, because some of you, I'm concerned about your physical health. You're very upset. So, anyways, that's my small amount of care for the day. Anyway, so if you look in the top left-hand corner is our gift goal. We've got we do the show each day from 9:30 Pacific to 1 o'clock. So we need to knock out the goal by the end of the show. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards knocking out that goal. Also, if you guys want to talk to Jay, RTP is Jay. The Venmo right there, you can DM me on Discord. It's Jen, JENN, Dub, DUBB, the number 1. We can bring you on to talk. That's how you get on. That's how you talk. So if you want to talk to Jay, you don't have to cry in comments. You can actually have a real conversation if you have the stones. So yeah, so help us knock out the gift goal. If you haven't already subscribed to us on Twitch, please do so. You can use your Amazon Prime sub. And please subscribe to us on on YouTube. We also have 4 different memberships on YouTube. Check the link tree in our bio. We are on different socials, and we also have some merchandise. I saw a few people talking about calling, Jay a soy boy. We have actually soy merch. We've got an awesome candle in our merch store if you want to check it out. If you're really interested in soy candles and things like that. That's you can get one of those there too to help support us. So if you want to talk, like I said, I told you how to get up there. Jen, JENN, DUBB, the number 1, or just cry in the comments. Jay's not reading your comments. He's not going to debate you from comments. So that's how you get it done. And like I mentioned in the beginning, please help us knock out the get full. What has 4 legs, is big, green, fuzzy, and if it fell out of a tree, would kill you? Are you talking?
Oh shit, I was muted. Sorry. I don't know.
A pool table.
Oh, that would suck. that would suck. Thanks, Jed. Appreciate it. This is for a clip from Midas Touch, and they had on John Ossoff, and I just thought this was an interesting part of the interview. I wanted to show you, like, John Ossoff's is on the attack, and he's saying kind of the same thing. Like, you got to go right at MAGA. You have to go on the attack, and you have to force them to defend their positions. We're not going to play whataboutism with these idiots. Just ask them. Ask them to defend their positions. I think John Ossoff lays this out really nicely here.
That's actually one of the reasons I think it's so important to go right at him. First of all, we have this spiral toward strongman rule and authoritarianism in the United States. In his first few months, he's purged the government of independent watchdogs, filled the most powerful offices with personal loyalists. He's commanded them to go after his opponents. We're seeing the use of fear and intimidation against the political opposition, unlike anything, I think, in our republic's history. And he's so consumed by his efforts to secure revenge and to crush his enemies and, conquering Greenland, that he's doing nothing for the people who elected him. His entire domestic agenda is tax breaks for the wealthy, rounding up immigrants, revenge, and centralizing as much power as he can in the presidency.
Yeah. This is a guy who, yesterday, I showed you, he wrote an executive order condemning a law firm for hiring somebody who had investigated Trump. That's the level of petty. That's the level of vindication. And that's what he cares about. There's a limited amount of time in your day. And Donald Trump uses all of his time to be a petty little bitch. It's all he does. Let me show you an example of this. In Lithuania, during a training exercise, there were 4 United States soldiers who were killed in a training accident. And this has been known for a while. And Donald Trump, after signing executive orders saying that these lawyers are mean to me, has asked this question.
About soldiers in Lithuania. Have you been briefed about the soldiers in Lithuania who are missing?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
Mr.
Mr. Commander-in-Chief doesn't know anything about these 4 U.S. soldiers that were killed in Lithuania. No idea. But what did he do today? He spent most of the day saying that Pete Hegseth was wonderful, that The Atlantic is a shit newspaper, and magazine, and that these lawyers who investigated him need to have executive orders saying how bad they are. He probably talked a little bit about golf too. He slurred his way through a morning interview. But soldiers killed in the line of battle? Yeah, I don't know anything about that. Or I guess not in the line of battle, in a training exercise. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. Why would I know anything about that? I'm just the commander-in-chief. Remember, it was Joe Biden. Joe Biden was the one that didn't care. I bet it's here. How many people here? Where's the Afghanistan whataboutism? There it is. I didn't see you criticizing Joe Biden not one day when he murdered civilians in Afghanistan. Well, that's because you didn't watch me. Because I did. I absolutely criticized Joe Biden. I criticize our very existence in Afghanistan. I'm not a fan. I criticize Joe Biden for the drone strikes. I criticized Joe Biden over his time that he spent with Netanyahu and whitewashing what Netanyahu did, or greenwashing what Netanyahu did. You must be new. You must just be brand new. Because you can tell you what, most Democrats I don't like, and most Democrats get criticism from me, including Joe Biden. He got a lot of criticism from me. So nice to have you here, and cool whataboutism, but stick around, and you'll see that like I'm not a partisan hack. The people in this audience, the people that watch this show, we don't give a fuck about the Democrats. We're not Democrat loyalists. We just want good things for this country. We call balls and strikes, and that bothers you. Asa Sophia, thank you. Said another great show, Jay. Keep up the great work. I appreciate that. Now you could say, oh, he wasn't briefed, he didn't talk about it. Well, the NATO chiefs sure seem to know about it. This is Mark. I don't know if it's Rutte or Rude, or I don't know how to say his last name. Look at the difference between our commander in chief and our soldiers talking about these 4 lost soldiers in Lithuania compared to the NATO chief, who, remember, NATO doesn't care about us. NATO doesn't do anything. It's all the United States. They're doing everything. This NATO chief seems to care a hell of a lot more about 4 soldiers than Donald Trump.
I'd love to hear your questions, but let me just say one thing, that whilst I was speaking, the news came out about 4 American soldiers who were killed in an incident in Lithuania. It is still early news, so we do not know the details, but obviously this is really terrible news, and our thoughts are with the families and loved ones. I sent a message to the American Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, that of course our thoughts and prayers are with the families and with the United States. So I just wanted to make that remark at the beginning, and now of course open to questions.
Yeah. See the difference there? Trump, oh, I don't know about it. Next question. Next question. Where he hasn't made a statement about it? Nothing? NATO's out there talking about it before we are? That's a little embarrassing, isn't it? There's real wars going on. There's terrorist attacks. Yeah, and NATO's talking about that too. Yeah, they have time to do it. Maybe if we spent a little less time going after reporters, maybe if we spent a little less time playing golf, maybe if we spent a little less time shooting infomercials for Elon Musk because that dumb bitch can't figure out why everybody hates him. Maybe if we did a little more of the job that we hired him for and a little less of this retribution tour that he's on, maybe, just maybe, we wouldn't be the laughing stock of the world. I don't know. That's just my opinion, though. Everybody has opinions. I looked through. There was a string of comments. I was going to show them. MAGA Cult Slayer posted it on Twitter, but I can't verify any of the users where they're saying like where they're from. But it is interesting. MAGA Cult Slayer put up this. There was like a video that was basically like, if you're not from America, tell us what you think about America. And it was just comment after comment after comment of like, what are you guys doing? Like, obviously, this is a fascist takeover. Why aren't you guys fighting? You're embarrassing. In just 2 months, like, you've embarrassed yourself on the world stage. But because I can't verify any of those users, I didn't post it. However, I get the impression from hearing world leaders speak that that's a pretty accurate assessment of what people think about the United States right now. I'll leave that one. I'll leave the Mr. Global one for later. I wanted to cover this video. So, Robert F. Kennedy. I'm going to say this: some of the things RFK is all about, I'm a fan of. He's one of those. He's a tough person in the administration for me, because he says a lot of things that I like, but his prescription for doing it is never right. And I think that the problem RFK has, if he were to be honest with all of us, is that he is going to be forced to do things he doesn't want to do. And he is not going to be an effective HHS director because he's working with Republicans. And Republicans do not care about healthcare costs for American people. They don't care about the general health of Americans. So you're going to see all these, like the granola moms that came on with RFK. You're going to see, they'll probably stay loyal to RFK, but they're frustrated too. They're like, can we get something done? Here's RFK announcing, this must have been incredibly hard to shoot for RFK, but here's him announcing why cutting funding to the HHS is actually a good thing. Thank you, Janelle, and thank you, Marion. Appreciate the super chats.
Hey, everybody. I'd like to share with you a paradox that I've encountered here in Washington, D.C. as the new secretary of HHS. Our department is filled for the most part with competent, conscientious public servants, and yet the agency has been inefficient as a whole. Over the past 4 years during the Biden administration, HHS's budget increased by 38%, and its staffing increased by 17%, but all that money has failed to improve the health of Americans.
True. I agree with that. That is true. And we should do something about that. And this is where we lose the MAGA. So MAGA, I want you to stay with me here. And I'm going to try and call balls and strikes on this video. Everything he just said about the Biden administration and HHS under the Biden administration is true. We increased the budget and outcomes didn't get better. Colossal failure by the Biden administration. They did virtually nothing to improve healthcare. I mean, they did some things, but like overall, the healthcare of this country got more expensive and outcomes got worse. So you could point to specific things you think they did well, but overall, they failed. I agree with that. That we spent money and we failed. So agree.
In fact, the rate of chronic disease and cancer increased dramatically as our department has grown.
Agreed.
Our lifespan,
however, well, okay, let him keep going.
Has dropped. So Americans now live 6 years shorter than Europeans. We are the sickest nation in the world, and we have the highest rate of chronic disease. The U.S. ranks last among 40 developed nations in terms of health, but we spend 2 to 3 times more per capita than those nations. As secretary,
okay, true. All of that's true. Does it not sound like I wrote those talking points? If you've watched before, that sounds an awful lot like what we've been saying on this show for a long time, is that we spend all this money, it's way too expensive, and we don't get the return on investment that we should. I want to show you just before this goes on, just so that we have data to back up what he's saying, because again, he's right on everything he has said so far. Absolutely right. This is the health spending in the U.S. compared to other countries. This is per capita spending. You see this green dot up here? That's us. This is everybody else. This is everybody else's per capita spending. And as he mentioned, our outcomes are getting worse. We're nowhere near the best, but we spend way, way more than everybody else. Now, Republicans, let me help you with this. All of these countries that spend less and have better outcomes than us. Now, not all of these have better outcomes than us on this list, but a good amount of them do. Every one of these countries spends less, but it's government spending. It's federal spending. So they have better outcomes, and their federal government, their taxpayer money, pays for it. So what we see here is private spending is very expensive and leads to bad outcomes. Public spending, government-funded healthcare is cheaper, significantly cheaper, and provides better outcomes. Now, RFK can't say that because RFK is with the Republicans now. But RFK, before he was a Republican, when he was on our side of the aisle, he said all of this shit then too, and we all agreed with him. And he said that the solution would have been some sort of universal health care. He was friends with Bernie Sanders. He liked Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All. But now that he's on this side of the aisle, he's saying the same shit, but now he's changing what the solution is going to be. So let's hear what his actual solution is. Oh shit, I kicked that video? Damn it. Let me pull it back up.
Hey, employees don't even come to of departments, committees. As secretary, I now understand why all this money is not improving our health. HHS is a sprawling bureaucracy that encompasses literally hundreds of departments, committees, and other offices. You know how bureaucracies work.
Yeah.
Every time a new issue arises, they tack on another committee. This leads to tremendous waste and duplication, and worst of all, a loss of any unified sense of mission.
Now, here's where he's lying, because he knows better than this. He is quoting spending numbers that are private health insurance. He's quoting private health insurance numbers. That has nothing to do with bureaucracies. Those private insurers have a incentive to make money. And that's why it's so much bigger than our. That's why the per capita spending is so much larger. Remember, this isn't total spending, it's per capita. And those numbers are largely private spending. So now here's the part that he has to spin and lie. And the reason he's having to spin this and lie is because RFK was nominated and had support because he said he was going to fix health in this country. And then he was given a directive by Donald Trump, Doge, and the Project 2025 people and said, hey, by the way, I know you have all these goals with your agenda, but we're going to have to cut your funding. And so now he has to spin this. Now he has to spin this, and he's doing it in an incredibly dishonest way, where he's pretending that the HHS spending is actually why we spend more per capita in this country, but it's not. It's because private health insurance is like $4,000 a year more expensive for Americans than government-funded health insurance from every other country. And we're talking at best. Like the best or the most expensive country, which I think was Germany, per capita spending, we're like $4,000 a year more per person than Germany, and they have fully funded universal health care that is government spending. So this is called spin. And if you don't know what you're watching, and if you don't know how healthcare in our country works versus other countries, you might hear this and think, oh, this is great stuff. This is terrific. Like he's gutting all this waste, and now our healthcare costs are going to go down. They're not going to go down. No matter how much funding they cut, they could cut 100% of the HHS budget, and these private healthcare insurers are just going to keep raising the prices. So this is a lie. It's deceitful. And if anybody has family members, we'll clip this whole segment. If anybody has family members that are like, what's wrong with RFK? Look what he's doing. Make sure they understand what he's actually talking about. Make sure they understand how our healthcare system actually works. Because the reason it's expensive is because we have a bunch of greedy fucking billionaires and millionaires who want to make more money, billions of dollars off of signing a check to pay for our medical bills. Like something like 20 to 30% of the money that you spend on private insurance actually goes to care. The rest of it goes to administrative costs and then into the pockets of investors, CEOs, sales reps, advertising, all that shit that other countries don't have. So this incredibly dishonest stuff by RFK here. And he knows better, and he knows he's lying. That's why this is scripted.
The resulting pandemonium has injured American health and damaged department morale. When I arrived, I found that over half of our employees don't even come to work. HHS has more than 100.
And in every study that has ever been done on work from home versus working in an office, people who work from home are happier and more productive. So now he's talking about like, we have a morale problem. And the problem with our morale is that people aren't coming to work. That flies in the face of every study that exists. If he's serious about morale, send them all home. Send everybody to work from home. Statistically, you're happier and more productive when you work from home. It's another lie that they're telling. It's another way that they are this administration's attacks on the working class. They're telling you that the problem with government is not all these billionaires in the cabinet. No. It couldn't possibly be the health insurance companies who are in bed with Big Pharma. It couldn't possibly be them. The real problem is that federal workers, the working class, are working from home. That's what caused all this shit. It was the people working from home. Not all. Don't look at the other stuff. The prices are high, morale is low because people are working at home. That makes no sense.
Communications offices and more than 40 IT departments and dozens of procurement offices and 9 HR departments. In many cases, they don't even talk to each other. They're mainly operating in silos. Sometimes these sub-agencies work at cross purposes with each other.
That's true. There is some efficiency work that needs to be done. They often, as they audit these agencies, which they regularly do, sometimes they'll find 2 people doing the same job. It doesn't make sense. That type of efficiency, like we expect our government to be more efficient. That part's true.
These little fiefdoms, for example, are so insulated and territorial that they actually hoard our patient medical data and sell it for profit to each other. Instead of remedying...
Which is illegal in like every other country, but not our country where capitalism is freedom. Who do you think allowed that? Which party do you think was pushing for that? I'm going to guess Republicans and then like the neocon Democrats. I bet Bernie Sanders wasn't on board with that. I bet AOC is not on board with that.
The chronic disease crisis, perverse incentives have administrators checking boxes and grading their own homework while public health declines. A few isolated divisions are neglecting public health altogether and seem only accountable to the industries that they're supposed to be regulating.
I agree with that too. That's true.
In one case, defiant bureaucrats impeded the secretary's office from accessing the closely guarded databases that might reveal the dangers of certain drugs and medical interventions. I have some good news, though. As part of
And they do that on purpose, by the way. That not always do you have access to everything, because there are things like scientific work that they don't want to be like mixed up in politics. And so some of this stuff, when we're talking about scientific studies, when you're and research, you don't want that to be politicized. And the HHS director is just by definition a political appointee, and they're likely going to be political. So some of this stuff is safeguarded to make sure that it's not a politician who gets nominated as HHS secretary who has a financial incentive to go in and change that data or make that data publicly available or not publicly available. So that's true, but it's a guard against politicization.
President Trump's DOGE workforce reduction initiative, we're going to streamline HHS to make our agency more efficient and more effective. We're going to imbue the agency with a clear sense of mission to radically improve the health of Americans and to improve agency morale. We're going to eliminate an entire alphabet soup of departments and agencies while preserving their core functions by merging them into a new organization called the Administration for a Healthy America, or AHA.
This is Project 2025. That's what this is. So part of merging this into a new organization is because they want to go after access to abortions, access to mifepristone. That's also why they're going after the Postal Service. They want to make sure that you can't get any sort of access to abortion. This is all part of Project 2025.
We have two goals. The first is obvious, to save the taxpayer money by making our department more efficient.
Now, it will, if they do cut, it will save the taxpayers a little bit of money, but those costs will dwarf in comparison to how much your costs are going to increase for health insurance. So it doesn't really matter. Like, yeah, your price is still going to go up, and the average taxpayer is going to save a little bit of money, like a couple dollars.
And the second is to radically improve our quality of service. I want to promise you now that we're
going to fire 10,000 people and our service will get better. Sure.
Going to do more with less. No American is going to be left behind. Our key services delivered through Medicare and Medicaid, the FDA and CDC, and other agencies will enter a new era of responsiveness and a new era of effectiveness. We're going to consolidate all of these departments and make them accountable to you, the American taxpayer, and the American patient. These goals will honor the aspirations of the vast majority of existing HHS employees who actually yearn to make America healthy. 28 great divisions will become 15. The entire federal workforce is downsizing now, so this will be a painful period for HHS.
By the way, the last time we did this, when Clinton downsized the federal government, it was a nightmare. The outcomes were, you can look into it, but the outcomes were not good. This is not beneficial to the average American. Less people means more things fall through the cracks. There may be some redundancies. There may be some areas where they could make some changes. But just like giving them, like, you need to cut the budget by this much means that you could, maybe you're cutting 10,000 people that all don't need to be there, or maybe you're cutting 10,000 people and you need 9,500 of those people. That's the problem with these types of cuts. When you say across the board, cut this amount, you can't claim efficiency. You can't claim that it's going to be more efficient because you cut jobs, unless you can explain to us how cutting those jobs is going to be more efficient, which he hasn't done here. He keeps saying it's going to lower costs for healthcare. It's not.
As we downsize from 82,000 full-time employees to around 62,000, we're keenly focused on paring away excess administrators while increasing the number of scientists and frontline health providers so that we can do a better job for the American people. We're going to streamline our agency and eliminate the redundancies and invite everyone to align behind a simple, bold mission. I want every HHS employee to wake up every morning asking themselves, what can I do to restore American health today? I want to empower everyone in the HHS family to have a sense of purpose and pride and a sense of personal agency and responsibility to this larger goal. We're going to save taxpayers nearly $2 billion a year, and we're going to return HHS to its original commitment to public health and gold standard science.
Gold standard science. Come on. Come the fuck on, RFK. And this is the part where this is where I'm going to lose some people on the right. I think that most of what I've said so far, that people are going to agree with. But gold standard science. This is a guy who still claims, without any evidence, without scientific evidence, that the COVID vaccine was harmful. Not that it had side effects like all vaccines do, but that it did more harm than good. He still claims that. There's absolutely zero evidence that it does more harm than good, and it's not even close. This is a person who has been a vaccine skeptic for years. This is a person who, because of his prominence and his name and his organization, he's convinced people in poor countries to not be vaccinated, and that has led to the death of children. This is a person whose ideologies are why we get measles outbreaks. The gold standard science, return to gold. When has going backwards with science ever been a good thing? Never. It's never been a good thing. This is a guy that, I don't know how old he is, but around his mid-50s, maybe early 60s, he just said, fuck it. I'm not learning new things anymore. I'm going total vaccine skeptic, and now here he is at HHS. For him to talk about gold standard science, the guy that they just had, they just hired him to run a study. I don't remember what the study was, but it was like a vaccine study, and he's legitimately one of the most prominently debunked vaccine skeptics in the world. And he put him up there. Even though all of his work has been debunked by actual scientists, RFK has him leading the charge. We are not going back to gold standard science. We are going back to the last time RFK actually did research, and we're not updating our science. We're just going backwards because he's too goddamn lazy to learn something new.
I want this agency to be once again a revered scientific institution that once made HHS the envy of the world. I want everyone who works here to be proud of this agency, to be proud.
I don't think HHS was ever the envy of the world. He's not against all vaccines. Yeah, nobody said he was against all vaccines, but he is against effective vaccines, and he lies about the efficacy of vaccines, and he lies about the side effects of vaccines, and he lies about the data that says you should be vaccinated. Yeah, we get it. You all sound the same. He's not against all vaccines. We know. We know. He says he's not, by the way. But do you ever hear him promoting a vaccine? When has he promoted a vaccine? He always says, I'm not against all vaccines. Okay, which ones are good? He was asked that. He's been asked multiple times, okay, which ones are the good ones? I'm not going to get into that. It's very difficult to get into that. There's so many different research papers.
Work to feel a renewed inspiration.
By the way, he's made a fortune off of being an anti-vaxxer. That's a good play. If you're struggling for money and you don't have a soul, become an anti-vaxxer. Do anti-vax content. You'll get rich. That's what happened to House and Habit. She covered the Johnny Depp trial, then nobody cared what she said anymore. So she's like, I'm going to be a vaccine skeptic, and now she's at the White House. It's a very lucrative position to be in. He's constantly suing people, trying to get them to settle so that they can win judgments and he can collect his finder's fee. This is just a charlatan.
And their own sense of responsibility for our success in restoring America to good health. Streamlining HHS is part of a shift.
That's probably enough there. I think that was the end. Just going to talk more about streamlining. I just want to show that. Let me just show you a couple of things. This is from World Population Review. They looked at the standard of living, and they used multiple sources to quantify the standard of living. So this is, or quality of life, excuse me. So you see they'll have U.S. News, CEO World, U.S. News from 2022, and you look at these countries that have a high quality of life, and you'll notice you got to go a little ways before you see the United States. Australia, Sweden, Norway, Austria, Iceland, Finland, Switzerland, Oman, Denmark, Netherlands, Luxembourg, all of them have universal health care. Probably. I don't know about Oman. I've never looked into the healthcare in Oman, so I don't know much about that. But every other one certainly has universal government paid healthcare. If we look here, these are the life expectancy world ratings. You can see here we are not in the top 10. In fact, look at this. Watch this. How far do you guys think we have to go down before we get life expectancy? Before we hit what ranking? How far do you think we have to go down? Do 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 do. Oh, 48. Certainly, we must be better than Albania, Panama, Czech Republic, Oman, Kuwait, Taiwan, Costa Rica, Maldives, Chile, Bahrain, United Kingdom, Germany, Slovenia, Cyprus, Puerto Rico, Greece, Finland, Denmark, Austria, New Zealand, Guadeloupe, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Qatar, Portugal, Ireland, Israel, Canada, Martinique, Iceland, UAB, Macau, Sweden, France, Norway, Malta, Reunion, I don't even know what that is, Spain, Singapore, Italy, Australia, Switzerland, French Polynesia, South Korea, Japan, Hong Kong. Certainly that we are the world's greatest country. Fucking 48th in life expectancy. I wonder, is this sortable? Let's see what happens when you go to life expectancy for women. Does it go up or down? Oh, it just stayed, actually. The ranking stayed the same. It might not sort that way. Okay. But yeah, for sure, like defunding the department or HHS, that's going to fix it, right? By the way, here's what the HHS budget looks like. Let's talk about what they actually do. They have a $1.7 trillion in mandatory proposed budget authority and $130.7 billion in discretionary funding. If we go here, here's the 2025 budget, the 2025 budget request, which is reserves 1.6 in mandatory and discretionary outlays for CMS. So they say that they're going to extend Medicare solvency without cutting benefits, make Medicaid and children health insurance program and CHIP more accessible, investing in private insurance, federal funds, investing in private insurance to expand coverage. Why are we doing that? Why is this part of our budget? Why are we investing? Why are we giving more money to the people who are raising the cost of our health insurance? That's why when RFK says it, he's like it's such a scam. He sits up there and he talks about wanting better outcomes and lower prices, and then in the budget they're like, we're going to give this money to private insurance companies. And by the way, then we're going to put like healthcare fraud and abuse controls. We're going to go after any waste in Medicaid and Social Security and Medicare, but we're just going to let these private companies continue to rob us blind. So don't figure it out. Listen to RFK. Listen to what he's saying. Don't think about here's what RFK stands for, and that's the problem that we have is. People say, here's what MAGA stands for. Here's what RFK stands for. And then you look at what they do, and they don't do what they say that they stand for. But you still support them because you're like, they say the things that I think, so I'm going to support them, even if they don't do the things that they think. Even if they do the exact opposite of what they say they believe in, I'm still going to support them because I'm a rhetoric person. I'm a Republican rhetoric person. Seeking for Hope, thank you very much for the super chat. Let me check messages on PayPal and Venmo real quick too, or Cash App. I think one came through. Steve, thank you very much. Steve says, "Is there a?"
While he's
Go ahead.
While he's doing that, I'll do my own. Like checking. So if you look up in the top left-hand corner, you'll see a gift goal. That's the remaining amount we need to hit by the end of the show. We do this show every day, Monday through Friday.
And we're ending. And we're ending 15 minutes early today.
Oh,
remember,
okay.
I have to go to
And so we're ending at 12:45 then today Pacific time. So Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats. Go to knock out the rest of that balance. We are crowdfunding. This is our job. As So if you guys are all upset, I see a lot of people are upset in the chat. This
What?
is our job, and I know that makes you
What are
so mad.
What are we upset about now?
They're mad about all kinds of different things. There's one guy who's, I'm assuming their gender. Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Let's be friends. Stop being mad.
Yeah. He was very upset. He said no more abortions, no more trans rights for 4 years. I don't think he knows all the whole going back to the States. People are still getting abortions.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
I said I would next friend I know that gets one, I'll have him get one in his honor, or their honor, I should say. So keep crying, I guess. If you guys want to talk to Jay, there's another way to do that. You can message me on Discord. It's the same as the Venmo, Jen, JENN.DUBB, the number 1. I can bring you on to talk to Jay, so you can actually have a conversation if you want to. Or you could just cry from the comments, I guess. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Rich.
If you haven't subscribed to us yet on Twitch, please do so. You can use your Amazon Prime sub, and on YouTube, and you can also subscribe, and we have 4 different memberships. You also check out our merch store and the other social media platforms we're on. There's a link tree in both of the bios. So yeah. What are you if you lose both legs in a duel?
In a duel?
Mm-hmm.
Grounded.
Defeated.
Damn it. That was a better one. All right. Thank you. Let's see. What was I about to look? Okay. So now I'm going to jump into SignalGate now. I hate that we're calling it SignalGate, but we're calling it SignalGate. So let's go ahead. But before we jump into that, I just want to remind you, in just a little over 2 months, this administration has destroyed our NATO alliances. They sold out the Palestinians in Gaza. They made enemies of Canada and Mexico to the point that Canada is talking about changing alliances and making new trade agreements with Europe. They threatened to take Canada, Greenland, and the Panama Canal. They crashed the stock market, are tanking the United States economy, released a war plan on the Signal chat, and cluelessly lost 4 soldiers in Lithuania. That is the record of this administration so far. All the while, they've also cut a bunch of money for poor people. So congratulations, Republicans. If that's what you voted for, you're doing it. You got this. Tanya says, well done. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. Charles said, I'll be your friend. I don't remember if I read that one yet. Thank you guys. Very generous. All right, let's jump into SignalGate here. First, this is an exclusive. I don't know if you guys have seen this. We actually have leaked video. This just came out right before the live started. We have leaked video of Pete Hegseth while he was texting in the Signal chat. This is crazy. I can't believe this isn't bigger news.
I'm so good at national security. Fist bump, American flag, fire emoji. I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. All caps, it's pathetic. Dripping. Who the fuck is Jeffrey Goldberg? It doesn't sound very Christian. Bomb, ba bomb, bomb, bomb. Can someone remind me what time we're dropping the bombs? Shit, is this Facebook? Whoops. Face bomb emoji. Don't worry, Facebook. We're just bombing the Houthis. Hoochies. Put that lotion. Splash emoji.
He's gonna have a hard time defending that. Look, there's different ways that we can approach this, and we can approach it by questioning Marjorie Taylor Greene in the way that she was questioned. We can have congressional hearings, or we can gentle parent our way through this. And TikTok user Mrs. Frazzled is giving you, if you need to gentle parent some of these people, here's a good way to gentle parent these folks through their SignalGate.
Crisscross applesauce spoons and bowl. Notice my face. I am so sad, friends. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Is Signal a secure, encrypted military communication system? Yes or no? No.
No.
Are we supposed to use any group chat to coordinate airstrikes? No. That was a super sad choice. You could have used your walking feet and sat in a room together and used your words to commit acts of war. I don't care what you did at Fox and Friends, Peter. Catch a bubble. I was gone for 1 day, and Mr. Jeffrey said that while I was gone, you were being mean to Europe. Mr. Jeffrey knows because you added him to the group chat, friend. Yes. I know you get super duper excited talking about bombs. I saw the emojis. But even when Donald is playing golf and you get to play President, JD, you have to calm your body down before talking about national security. Got it? Okay. In front of you, you have some paper. We are going to write I'm sorry notes to our European allies. No, you all are going to write notes because you all were in the group chat. No, not Mr. Jeffrey. JD, no couch. Thank you.
I hadn't watched it all the way through yet. I only made it through like 20 seconds the first time. I just threw it on the outline. Catch a bubble. That's bars. Look, this is inspiring all sorts of great things. It's inspiring our enemies to hate us, but more importantly, the Signal chat is now inspiring new board games, which I assume you'll be able to get on Kash Patel's grifter website here anytime soon.
It's Signal, the game of high-tech calls and strategic texting. Signal lets you execute military decisions while trying to figure out who's on the call. That's right, little Marco. Just type a message to the group about who you want to bomb, or who you don't want to bomb.
I don't think Donald understands bombing the Houthis is too globalist.
Send J.D. Vance to Greenland. We need to ice that guy until he remembers who the boss is.
Is there a reporter in here listening to us talk about the Houthis?
Anytime anyone says Houthis, we should all drink.
Plus, every game of Signal leads to congressional hearings. You'll spend hours trying to figure out who doesn't belong on the call.
1410, get bombed. 1430, get bombed. 1440, get bombed.
You talking about the Houthis getting bombed, Pete?
No, brah. I mean me.
Signal is hours of fun.
I hope you guys find the reporter.
If they call your war plan an attack plan, move ahead 3 spaces.
Go back to start and do not recollect any of the messages in this chat, even though you read them.
I am new to the couches of Greenland Signal chat. Anyone free this Friday to give me a tour?
And if you love Signal, get our expansion pack, Damage Control. See which one of your friends can come up with the craziest excuse.
I am proud a group of our leaders are communicating.
You have somebody else's contact, and then somehow it gets sucked in. It gets sucked in.
You'll get.
That one was real. Just to be clear. All that was AI, except for the last one.
Sucked in, all right. Now Signal is available online, where you can play with multiplayers from all over the world, whether you invited them or not.
I did not invite Whoopi Goldberg to this chat. Oh, criminy, maybe I did.
Get Signal now, and we'll throw in the passwords of Trump's entire cabinet.
Hey, this is Steve. This line's secure in Russia.
I really hate that sad loser, Mr. Newberger.
Who, me?
Just a reminder, all of the Trump, everybody on that list basically had their, I have the article. I don't know if we're going to get to it yet. I'm trying to remember who. It was some, I want to say it was like a German reporter. They went through and they found basically everybody's personal information on the internet. Like they got assigned to cabinet positions. They work for the federal government, and nobody thought to like pay somebody to get their public information and private information removed from the internet. I do that. I pay somebody to do that. And I'm like, what I have 6,000 people that are subscribed to me, something like that. I do that. I don't work for the federal government. It was like the first thing I thought of. Like, I should make sure that people can't like harass my family because they don't like that I'm a lib. Not in the federal government. Like, yeah, no, everything's just gonna be fine. All right, we're done joking around a little bit. I do want to say,
I think you might have missed the super chat. Go look at our chat. Look at Cora.
What?
From look at Cora. 2 special elections in Pennsylvania went blue on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I was reading those when you were talking, then I forgot to do it. Yeah, the 2 special elections from went blue Tuesday. You had James Malone, who flipped a Pennsylvania Senate seat, which was a major upset. Nobody saw that coming. And then Dan Gonauer won a special election in Western Pennsylvania. I know that's like a more purple county, but yeah, shout out to the Democrats winning special elections. I think we should probably get used to that for the next couple of years. Republicans aren't going to have a way to make good arguments at this point. Hilariously, this one's not fake. I realize everything I just posted there was fake and it was meant to be funny. This is Moxie Marlinspike, the founder of Signal, and said there are so many, tweeted out, there are so many great reasons to be on Signal, now including the opportunity for the Vice President of the United States of America to randomly add you to a group chat for coordination of sensitive military operations. Don't sleep on this opportunity. Now, JD isn't the one that added him, but yeah, the point is made there. Worst attempt at whataboutism on this went to Don Jr., who said, why doesn't Jeffrey Goldberg disclose to readers in his stories that he is a registered Democrat? His wife also worked for Hillary Clinton and has donated nearly $25,000 to Democrats. Yeah, maybe don't add him to your Signal chat then, you dumb bitch. Maybe you shouldn't be mad at Jeffrey Goldberg. The whole dumb bitch cabinet couldn't figure out that they added a registered Democrat whose wife donates to the Democrats and who worked for Hillary Clinton. Maybe don't add him to the group chat. That's the worst whataboutism I've ever heard. How come he doesn't tell anybody he's a Democrat? How come you added him to a group chat? No, and this is out of the Trump playbook. Never admit fault, always deflect, always blame somebody else, and it's embarrassing. Nobody is buying this bullshit. Nobody. Here's Cynthia Loomis. She's from Wyoming, I think. She's the one that introduced like we're gonna do $100 billion of crypto reserve currency as a handout to these dumbass crypto people who are gonna need a handout when it crashes. That's Cynthia Loomis. Here's her being confronted with the Signal chat. You're gonna notice a pattern. Republicans don't understand what Signal is. They also don't understand what technology is, and they never know what they're looking at. Watch Cynthia Loomis be confronted with this for the first time, on her feet, make up a defense, and show totally that she has no clue what she just looked at. No clue.
No, have you?
Yeah, would you like to see it?
Yeah.
So he's asking, have you seen the Signal chat, the transcript? No. Have you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here it comes. See that brain? Tick, 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 tick. Okay, how do I defend this? How do I defend this? How do I defend this? How do I defend that Jeffrey Goldberg was here? Think about it, think about it, think about it, think about it.
Well, did Pete Hegseth know there was a reporter on the call?
Not a call. Not a call. If this was a phone call and Pete Hegseth didn't know there was a reporter on the call, I would maybe say, sure, that's a little bit different. Still doesn't matter. Unsecure phone, unsecure app, unsecure conversations shouldn't be happening. It doesn't matter Pete Hegseth knew or not. It's also not a call. It's a text. She may not know the difference between texting and calling, although she definitely knows what cryptocurrency is.
It's not clear, but this is still in an unclassified app.
Did Pete Hegseth know that there was a reporter on the call?
I think that's less the issue and more the issue.
To double down on it. Just say it again. This time it'll work.
This happening in an unclassified setting.
No, that's not the bigger issue. The bigger issue is, did Pete Hegseth know there was a reporter on the call? That's the issue.
She finds out about it in real time. She finds out about all of this in real time. Doesn't know it's not a phone call, immediately defends. And that's what being MAGA is. Knee-jerk react, defend. Don't learn anything. Don't think for yourself. Just no matter what happens, it was somebody else's fault. It was probably the reporter's fault here. Did Pete Hegseth know that he was on the call? The big issue here is classified information being shared on an unsecure app. And the only reason we know it was shared on that app is because all these people that you put in your administration are fucking morons. They don't know how to do anything. Like literally don't know how to do anything. They don't even know how to operate an app. They don't know what is, apparently none of them seem to know what is classified information and what isn't classified information. You have the defense secretary out there claiming that none of this is classified, despite the fact that the DOD guidebook says this is absolutely classified, and everybody else outside of Donald Trump is basically like, it's classified. We can't share that shit.
Did not. He thought he was speaking to his fellow cabinet members. He should not resign.
But is the National Security Advisor at fault then here?
I gotta go drink my Celsius and think about what I've just said. I nailed that. She's texting someone right now. Just nailed these fuckers in the lobby. They thought they were gonna get me with a gotcha question. I told them that signal calls are no problem, and that the reporter was the problem there. Thanks, Mary, for the super chat. Said great day. Keep up the voices. Appreciate that. All right. Now moving on. This is Pam Bondi. Listen. I will say one thing about Pam Bondi. She is really, really committed to Ozempic. She's hoping to have no skin left at some point, just bones. Nobody has more quickly lost more face weight than Pam Bondi. She is unrecognizable. She is just blasting Ozempic every single day. And it may be causing some brain dysfunction. She's asked in terms of Signal Chat controversy, is the Department of Justice that you head up, are they involved at this point? I mean, it is your job. This is your job, but are you involved at this point?
Signal Chat controversy that's going on. Is DOJ involved at this point? If so, why? If not, why not?
Well, first, it was sensitive information, not classified.
Absolutely classified.
And inadvertently released. And what we should be talking
on an unsecure app with a journalist, classified information that was inadvertently released because they did it in a place where it could be released inadvertently.
About is it was a very successful mission.
Yeah.
Our world is now safer
No.
because of that mission. We're not going to comment any further on that.
Remember in the Signal Chat? Do you remember the chat when they're like, nobody knows who the Houthis are? And in that same chat, they're like, why are we doing this? Like everybody except for Stephen Miller and Pete Hegseth, they're like, why the fuck are we doing this? Why are we bombing the Houthis right now? Like nobody even knows who they are. I think JD Vance said, nobody knows who the Houthis are. It might have been Pete Hegseth that said that. Nobody could figure out why the fuck we did this. It was not successful. People are dead. It didn't make the world safer. It just dragged us into another war, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But this is more of Israel dragging our asses into war over and over and over again. They do it all. Every war we get into in the Middle East is fucking Israel dragging our asses in there. And she shows up like, the world is a better place because of this. No, it's not.
If you want to talk about classified information, talk about what was at Hillary Clinton's home.
There it is. There's the whataboutism. Remember, it's in the chat. Guys, make sure our messaging is tight on this. We did this to make the world safer because we care about freedom of navigation and also blame Joe Biden. And she's like, you know who else I could also blame? Hillary Clinton. By the way, Hillary Clinton was investigated by the Department of Justice. So this shit that she's saying right now, like, I'm not going to open an investigation. What about Hillary? They investigated Hillary. It was a year-long investigation into Hillary. She sat in front of Congress. Hillary was investigated. You're refusing to investigate. Don't ask the reporters, like, what about Hillary? We already did that. We had a year-long investigation. Here's what we concluded. You can go check the findings yourself. And what you'll find when you look at the Hillary Clinton investigation is, yes, she mishandled classified documents. No, none of those classified documents were top secret. None of them had to do with anything militarily. In fact, the classified documents that she mishandled, most of them were like marked classified after she had sent them to herself. There's also no evidence that anybody got a hold of those emails. We have no evidence. Trump ran on it. He's like, yeah, Russia has these. Well, Russia never provided them. We've never seen them. And the reason we know there were 30,000 is because she sent them from her government email to her private server, and the government keeps records of all those emails. So every email that she sent regarding classified information, we have. Now, and they're like, oh, she deleted emails. Yeah, those are personal emails she's allowed to delete. But every email she sent from a government email, we actually have. And we know all this stuff because they did an investigation, which Pam Bondi is refusing to do. So even their whataboutisms don't make any sense. Are you going to investigate? No. What about Hillary? She was investigated.
She was trying to bleach bit, talk about the classified documents in Joe Biden's garage that Hunter.
Which Joe Biden sat down for 12 motherfucking hours with Robert Hur. Because why? They did an investigation. So again, she's referencing something that was investigated, something that we have a record of. Is she going to investigate? Hell no, that's not her job. Pam Bondi wasn't hired because she's good at this. Pam Bondi wasn't hired because she was competent. She wasn't hired because she's the best candidate. She was hired to not do anything. Stay out of the way and investigate Democrats. That's her only role at this Department of Justice. She's either a moron or lying here. This is the most dishonest attempt at a cover-up. She's talking about investigations. And by the way, we held congressional hearings for days on this. Robert Hur came in and presented his findings. They released the Hur report. We were able to read the Hur report. We read it. I don't know if you guys on your side of the aisle can read, but we read it. I covered it live. We covered it for days. That's what's crazy about this whataboutism. It's not even good whataboutism.
Hunter Biden had access to. This was not classified information.
Yes, it was.
And we are very pleased with the results of that operation and that the entire world is safer because of it.
She is supposed to be nonpartisan, by the way. Her job is to be nonpartisan. And there's miles of difference between her and Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland opened up an investigation into Hunter Biden and said, you don't have to report to me. In fact, don't report to me. It's very important to me that everybody know I'm not involved in this case. It's very important that this is transparent. It's very important that Joe Biden isn't seen as getting preferential treatment, and he didn't. There is miles of difference between this absolute skeleton fraud and the previous administration, and don't let them tell you it's not. She's refusing to investigate anything, ever. The last administration investigated the son and Joe Biden, and they didn't do anything to stop those investigations. Not one thing. Joe Biden didn't claim presidential immunity, nothing. They just let it all happen. And it all played out, and then, on his way out the door, he's like, all right, we did the investigation. Hunter got charged. I'm not going to let these guys go after my son again and run him through the ringer again. So, he gave a pardon, which I would have done too. And I understand if you're a Republican, you have a problem with that. I get it. But I'm just saying, if I was a father and that's how it had rolled out, I probably would have done the same thing. Pam Bondi, however, I'm just here not to do anything. I'm just here to make sure I come out here and I tell everybody how great Donald Trump is, and I tell everybody how great Pete Hegseth is, and I promise never to investigate anything ever, ever, ever. More Ozempic, please. And then she goes back, and they're like, here's your shot for the day. Good job. It's like Pavlov's dogs out here. Look, here's a clip. Now, listen, I know a lot of you guys think that it's perfectly acceptable to use Signal, even though it's unsecure. It's perfectly acceptable here. But the folks at Project 2025 don't. This is the private training videos from Project 2025 talking about oversight and investigations. Here's what the folks at Project 2025, who, by the way, make up this entire administration, here's what they had to say about using apps like Signal.
Where things get really tricky as a political appointee, especially, for those who've never worked in federal government before, there's plenty of apps and other messaging platforms out there, whether it's deleting messages, encrypted communications, or whatnot. But all the agencies under the federal government are governed by certain records retentions policies. So you have to be careful with whatever agency you're working at, that you're following those policies. That's another way that political appointees get into trouble sometimes, is they're using these encrypted chat platforms or self-deleting messages, and they are, in some sense, violating the law by deleting those. Because if you're conducting official business, whatever communication was transmitted to conduct that official business, that's a federal record, and it needs to be properly retained so that someone can request it under FOIA. Where things get really tricky.
There you go. Trudy, thanks for the super chat. And also, thank you. Vanessa said, being awesome. Love you guys. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate all your guys' support today. All right, so Project 2025 against it. Everybody was against it before, but just like all things in MAGA world, once it's the MAGA folks that are doing it, it's no longer a problem. And somehow it's like it's only a problem when it happens on the other side of the aisle. Again, our side of the aisle did investigations. Your side of the aisle is covering it up. Say whatever you want about Joe Biden. That's fine, but don't pretend that we're the same right now. Don't pretend that you guys give a goddamn about any of this, or that you give a goddamn about justice, that you give a goddamn about equity, that you give a goddamn about equality. You don't. You're just fans, and you should be embarrassed at this point. But maybe we'll get there. You know you fucked up as a Republican when you lose Sauger. This is Sauger from formerly Crystal and Sauger, now Breaking Points. This is him on with one of our favorite reporters, Ryan Grimm. But listen to Sauger, who is MAGA. And he says he's not MAGA. He's like all MAGA journalists. Like, I'm an independent. I just happen to always agree with Trump. You lost Sauger, guys. Sauger's gone now.
I can tell you this. Inside the administration, people are furious with Mike Wall. It's basic competence. Like, it's one thing if you accidentally do it, with your friends or whatever. What we are told from this administration is what? We're firing tens of thousands of federal workers. We're doging the government to make it more efficient, and only the best.
Dude, doging the government. Are we saying that now? We're doging the government? I hate that so much. I was like, it triggered me a little bit. That's triggering to me. I don't like using Doge that way. Please don't say that.
Of the best will survive.
Meritocracy.
That's
I
right.
believe in meritocracy.
Hell
I
yeah.
believe in excellence. Nothing about this screams meritocracy or excellence. It just screams absolute stupidity. I mean, there's a different word I could use, but I won't right now. There is a secondary story
asininity
here where Goldberg is like a confirmed CIA spook, because
That's what he should say.
What kind of a
Yeah.
journalist? What kind of a journalist gets added to the secret chat?
By the way, I don't know if you know what he's referencing there. I haven't reported any of this yet, and I don't know if I will, because I don't know how confirmed it is, and I want to be careful. When you're talking about Israel and you're talking about connections to Israel, you do have to be careful not to oversimplify things that are anti-Semitic. Goldberg, just having the last name Goldberg, you could be a target for anti-Semitism. So I'm trying to confirm parts of these stories. But let me just tell you the stuff that hasn't been confirmed yet, and I want to be clear on that. I haven't confirmed it, but I'm looking into it. Goldberg seems to have pretty strong ties to not only AIPAC, but the State of Israel. I heard from Ryan Grimm, who is usually a pretty reliable source, but I haven't seen it myself. I asked Jen to find it yesterday. Maybe she did. I don't know if you call it a rumor. I've heard people say that Goldberg, at one point in his life, worked as a guard for the IDF. So there is a lot of chatter going on that Goldberg is an Israeli plant, that maybe that's how he was able to get on the group chat, that Israel thought if we can get this stuff leaked, it's going to force MAGA to insulate and come to our side more. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about that, but that's what they're talking about. When he says he's a CIA spook, that's what he's talking about. Again, I don't have confirmation on that. Would it be surprising? Absolutely fucking not. Benjamin Netanyahu wants to be involved in everything. Benjamin Netanyahu wants to control everything. It would not be shocking. These are two serious journalists. Despite the fact that I don't agree with Sauger very, very often politically, he is a serious journalist. He's careful about his sources, and so is Ryan Grimm. So there's at least reason for me to believe that it's worth looking into, but that's what he's talking about.
Okay, gets added to a secret chat, refuses to publish or even report on the specifics of the strike, voluntarily leaves the chat, and then alerts the people being like, hey, was this real? You don't leave, bro. You stay forever until they kick your ass out, because then who knows what better information that you could get.
Yeah, and you let your colleague, Shane
That's
Harris,
right, your colleague. Yeah,
let
what
Shane
you
Harris
do,
write the story. According to a source with direct knowledge.
Source with direct knowledge.
In the meetings.
Yeah, plans reviewed by The Atlantic tell us this, and then, by the way, the people in the administration are going to freak out.
And then make them figure out.
Yeah, and they're going to be like, how did this happen? And there's going to be a knife fight inside. It'd be glorious, to be honest. And then, actually, they probably discuss leaking in the chat, and you get even more.
That would have been so much better if he just didn't write this story. And exactly what they're saying. Like, this is how leaks happen. This is normally when, like, if you go back and you look at Woodward and Bernstein, they had a source, which was Deep Throat, and nobody understood that was the source, and they were very careful with that source. So when they reported things, they said, based on our source, and they were really careful to not have like any identification of that source, and they would report on that source. And then the Nixon administration would come out and call it a lie, but they already had the information. So basically, as soon as Nixon came out, and this is how it all came crumbling down, basically Nixon would deny it, and then they would bring out the source. Exactly what happened in this story, by the way. Goldberg one day said, I have classified information. Here's what I'm going to show you. I'm not going to show you the classified information. So the Trump administration came out, and they were like, no, there was no classified information. He's full of shit. So then the next day, he's like, here it is. And then they're like, fuck. It's still not classified information, even though it obviously is, which is why every serious journalist on the right agrees. Everybody. The only people really that don't agree with this are the Trump administration, and they are begging you to believe them. And some of you will, but that's agree with what Sauger says there. I wish he wouldn't have done what he did. Maybe he just thought that those messages, as soon as they found out that those were leaked, that they were going to figure out he was on the chat. I mean, that's what I would do if I had leaked messages. I'm like, who leaked this? And I would go through the list of people on my chat. And the first person I found that nobody could identify, I'd be like, that's probably the source. And I would have booted him. So I don't think he could have stayed on there for much longer while reporting it, but I would have stayed.
Information about. That's what somebody who's actually good at their job does.
Sorry, that's a good point too, Cass. There's another world where Goldberg never released this story and he just put it in a book later. So I appreciate that he released it. That's a good point.
Who's not
competent.
Yeah, you're right. It's not about competence. It's basically like even the way he's like, I'm not going to disclose the strike package or whatever. I'm like, why not? Okay. I mean, look, they literally brag about this shit on video. They publish a video showing the ship the guided missile destroyer that's launching the missile. You think I can't go on Wikipedia and see what kind of armaments they have over there?
And like,
it's not difficult.
If the Houthis find out what brand of missile is flying at them, they're going to be able to.
Right. Yeah, I forgot that the Houthis have a very sophisticated anti-missile detection technology. What are we doing here? So Goldberg is an idiot.
And you're still attacking sheds, by the way.
He's such an obvious, such an obvious, CIA cutout. This is Ken Klippenstein's been going off on this. I mean, everybody's praising Jeffrey Goldberg, but he didn't publish the war plans. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? You know, when we had those Discord files, I got my hands on those over here at Breaking Points. Yeah, I didn't publish them like word for word until later, but we did all the reporting on the inside, you know, based in the way that Glenn covered the Snowden documents. You want to do it responsibly, okay? You don't want anybody, and even then, I think you would be within your rights to just upload it if you want to. I actually would not criticize anybody for doing that. But you don't want to take any of the hits about, you're endangering national security or whatever. So what do you do, Ryan, whenever you publish classified information? You take it, you review it, and then you publish whatever's newsworthy within it. They're still going to scream that it's dangerous to national security, but as long as you take some responsible, stuff here, I actually do think it's in the public interest to tell us how exactly they went this down. According to Goldberg, they had the specific names of the people that they wanted to target. I would go, hey, maybe you should publish those names.
Yes.
And then did they kill them or not? Right. Because if they didn't, with a $200 million bombardment,
newsworthy.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that might be why Goldberg, I think the part that maybe both of them are missing is, or at least not missing, but potentially what Goldberg could have been doing is those texts are set to delete after a week. I think it was set to 1 week. And so by getting this story out now, the texts will not auto-delete. And now that the story's out there, and there is a public demand for them, they're not allowed to, they know that they exist, so they can't delete the text thread. They're not allowed to, because they're not allowed to communicate this way. Somebody said earlier that you heard that that's why they use Signal, and that's why the Biden administration used it too. Let's not say that the Biden administration was clean too. Mostly, the reason that a lot of these people use Signal is because they say, we don't want all our communication to be public. So government business will be public, but if we're going to talk about private things, political things like party politics, go to Signal. So when they say like that the Biden administration said you could use Signal, that's what they're talking about. The rules still apply though. So if you can't even use that as a whataboutism. So if you want to go after the Biden administration for allowing people to use Signal, then you've got to find some evidence that they were talking about classified information on Signal. Nobody says that working in the government you can't use Signal. But if you're doing your job, your government job, and you're communicating about your job, that is required to be backed up. Our national archives require that. and that's why they did it on Signal. And I think that's probably why Goldberg released it now, because those are going to delete. And once they're deleted, how does he prove that his version of it is true? How does he prove his screenshots are real? They'll just say he edited it, and that's that. And Signal's not going to provide it. So I see probably both sides on theirs, but either way, massive incompetence. You've lost Sager now on this. You've lost every serious journalism. Or every serious journalist, and it keeps spiraling. Here's the man who started the group text. Listen to him try and explain how Goldberg got on there. This is when Fox News isn't buying your shit, and they desperately want to buy your shit, you're in trouble.
And I know him in the sense that he hates the president, but I don't text him. He wasn't on my phone, and we're going to figure out how this happened.
So you don't know what staffer is responsible for this right now?
Well, look, a staffer wasn't responsible, and look, I take full responsibility. I built the group. My job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
Now that directly contradicts Donald Trump when Donald Trump said it was a staffer, probably an innocent staffer. So now we know it's not a staffer. It's definitely Waltz. Waltz created the chat. Waltz added Goldberg to the chat.
How did the number? I mean, I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name, and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this.
Who did he have listed as? He either had somebody listed as Jeffrey Goldberg. No, that would be the wrong one. Okay, so he has someone's contact information, but it's actually Jeffrey Goldberg. That's what he's trying to say now. One of his Jeff just got a new phone, and it just happened to be a member or a contact that was in Mike Waltz's phone, or he put it in wrong. I guess maybe. I don't know. Maybe
this loser in the group.
But that's the other part. The follow-up question is, so who was it? Who did you try to add?
Group. It looked like someone else. Now, whether he did it deliberately or it happened in some other time.
Whether he did it deliberately? All right, let's talk about that, Mike Waltz. How did Jeffrey Goldberg deliberately put his contact information into your phone under a different name? How did that happen? Did he have your phone? Is he like, the spin is tough. If this was any other administration, if you didn't have the most notorious liar and directives from the top to never, ever, 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 ever admit that you did anything wrong, he would just be telling the truth right now. But he can't tell the truth because he's not allowed to tell the truth. That's silly. Maybe Jeffrey Goldberg did this. Maybe he took my phone and put his number under my contacts under a different name. It's going to be crazy if that turns out like Israel got his phone, the IDF, and they put in Goldberg's number under somebody else's. I'm going to have to eat my shirt if that happens. That'd be wild.
Technical mean is something we're trying to figure out.
So your staffer did not put his contact information. But how did it end up in your phone?
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out.
Okay, but that's a pretty big problem.
That's what we've got the best technical minds, right?
That's disturbing.
And that's where, I mean, I'm sure everybody out there has had a contact where it was said one person and then a different phone number.
But you've never talked to him before, so how's the number on your phone? I mean, I'm not an expert in.
I have a guy. There's a contact in my phone. It's fucking Doug. Like, yeah, that happens. But usually when you nickname somebody, I have this guy named fucking Doug. One year I went to the Waste Management golf tournament, and we little trick here. If you guys don't know this trick, we used to use it when we went on cruises. But you take a water bottle. Do I have a cap? There we go. I'll even show you right here. You take a water bottle that has a cap, and the seal is unbroken. And you take a piece of scissors and you cut off the top, and then you take this and you put it in boiling water, and then you can pop the top off without breaking the seal, and then you put it on a new water bottle. So we would take water bottles where in places like Waste Management where you can take a water bottle, and we would fill it with vodka, and then we would put on a sealed cap. So when they tested it, it was a sealed cap. So fucking Doug was this guy that was next to us all day. His name was Doug, and he was obnoxious as shit, and he was hammered. And so then at one point he said, so he asked us, he's like, let me have some of that water. And we laughed. And so somebody handed him the water bottle, and he took just the biggest long pull from the water bottle, and he puked right over the side, like right over the railing, all over, and he got kicked out. But before that, he had taken my phone and put his number in there because he wanted to golf next time I was in Vegas. Shout out Doug if you're out there. Fucking Doug if you're out there from Las Vegas. Good to see you, my friend. Sorry about making you throw up. But yeah, that's when it happens. It doesn't happen in a different way. It doesn't happen in the way he's trying to. And by the way, bro went to the tanning salon for a long ass time.
Any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then somehow it gets
someone
sucked
sent
in,
you that
it gets
contact.
sucked in.
Was there someone else supposed to be on the chat that wasn't on the chat that you thought was?
So
on
the
chat?
person that I thought was on there was never on there. It was this
Who
guy.
was that? What person?
Well, I'm not. Look, okay. Laura, I take responsibility. I built the group.
Okay.
So but look, that's the part that we have to figure out.
Conspiracy theories will tell you that this guy is an Israeli plant. That's the conspiracy side of it. Again, I don't have anything to say that he is or he isn't. Steve said switching from Android to iOS is very difficult to manage. That's actually true for somebody like me. I had an Android for a little while, and it was a nightmare trying to fix that. Let me check with Jen real quick. Oh, she just sent that. All right, moving on here. Remember that I showed you that interview yesterday of Trump slurring? I somehow missed this clip from yesterday. Maybe nobody clipped it until today. But here's Trump in that same slurring early morning interview with whoever the fuck this guy is on Rumble. He looks incredibly malnourished. He might be on that Ozempic diet too. But here's Trump trying to explain it away. Clearly doesn't know what Signal is. I think he thinks Signal is a phone. Maybe? Just tell me if Trump knows what Signal is here.
But let me just start with that piece of it. Out of a country of over 300 million people, how is it that Jeffrey Goldberg, who hates you, ends up on this Signal chat? Isn't that bizarre?
It is bizarre. And he's a sleazebag, but at the highest level.
Yeah.
His magazine is failing. It's going to be out of business soon, in my opinion. It's
the amount of times Donald Trump has predicted an outlet that was about to go out of business. He's like zero. He's batting zero on that. He strikes out every fucking time. Just everybody he says they're terrible. They're about to go out of business. Like, update your lines, Donald. That's one of the part about like Republicans. I don't know why you still like this guy. He literally says the same shit to everything every single time. He's so predictable. But yeah, he's not batting a good number on predicting places that will go out of business.
It's too bad we give it a little boost like this. But somebody in my group either screwed up or it's a bad signal. It's a bad signal, happens too. But
what? What does that mean? I don't honestly know what he means. How is it a bad? How did it get leaked from a bad? How did you add him from a bad signal? What do you guys think? What do you think he's talking about there? This guy is a fucking moron. He has no clue. He doesn't know what's going on ever. You guys want to talk about a shadow presidency? You love talking about Biden and the shadow presidency. And there's a lot of reporting that says that there was stuff going on that Biden didn't really know about, or that they kind of kept from Biden. That seems to be true. Remember on the text thread when JD's like, Trump doesn't even realize that this is, I don't think he even understands that this isn't in line with his policies. He's like, but I won't tell him if you guys don't. And everybody on the chat's like, yeah, let's just not tell him. Remember that part of the chat where they all agreed, like, not to tell him that? Where they all just agreed, like, we'll be in lockstep. Don't worry about it. If he figures it out in the next 24 hours, I guess he figures it out. This dude isn't doing anything. He just stands around and signs executive orders and goes golfing. He doesn't appear to have any clue what's going on in his administration. He doesn't know about the 4 lost soldiers. Now he doesn't know about that Signal is an app. Then he thinks you can add, like, if the Signal goes bad, someone randomly gets added to your chat. This guy has no fucking clue. I'm not gonna do play the same game you guys did about being senile, but I am gonna say that he doesn't seem to be involved. Nobody seems to know. Nobody seems to tell him what's going on. Tony Tanza says, I'm Batman. Congratulations, Tony. That's wonderful. It's good to have Batman here today. Then here's Trump again defending it. Like I'm just telling you, I don't think he knows what's going on. I don't think he understands what happened. Watch him defend Hegseth here. He clearly doesn't know.
Should Secretary Hegseth consider his position over the signal?
Hegseth is doing a great job. He had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, he did. He was on an unsecure app, not in a skiff, talking about classified information. In fact, everything else was fine. Hegseth is the only one that shared classified information on that whole text thread. Of all the people who didn't do anything wrong, Hegseth was the one that did something wrong. Nobody else passed along classified information. It was Hegseth, and nobody even asked him for it. He just did it. Remember, the chat went silent, and then here came in old drunk Pete. Hey, guys, check it out. Here's some classified information for you. He's the only one that did anything wrong. The only one. Even Waltz didn't really do anything wrong, right? Like, it's not good for the group. They're like, hey, dude, we don't want a journalist knowing what we're thinking or part of our private chat. But Hegseth is actually the only one who shared classified information.
Hegseth. How do you bring Hegseth into it? He had nothing to do. Look, it's all a witch hunt.
Ah, there it is. It's a witch hunt. It's always a witch hunt. Everybody's just after us. Nothing we do is bad. It's all a witch hunt. He has no fucking clue what happened. None. And when he ran out, and when they're like, wait a minute, what? He's like, it's a fucking witch hunt. Everything's a witch hunt. We don't do anything wrong.
Here we are talking about some of the greatest business deals ever made. The greatest companies in the world are moving into the United States, and you want to ask about whether or not Signal works. I don't know that Signal works. I think Signal could be defective, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you dumb bitch. Then don't use it. If Signal's an app that's defective, don't use it. And by the way, there's rules. You're not allowed to use Signal to send out classified information. That's why we have fucking skiffs. That's why we have rules. It's not Pete's fault. It's Signal's fault. Signal's the real problem.
And I think that's what we have to, because you use Signal and we use Signal and everybody uses Signal, but it could be a defective platform, and we're going to have to find that out.
Yeah, but also you're not allowed to share classified information on Signal. I mean, this is bird brain dumbassery at its finest. These aren't even good excuses. This is just, I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to learn anything. And all of my supporters are so goddamn stupid that I can say something this fucking stupid and they're just going to be like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, let's blame Signal. It's Signal's fault, really, when you think about it. Shouldn't all apps be able to secure classified information? Why wouldn't we just have all apps be available to secure classified information? That's really the problem. That's why we're going to bring in all these new companies. We have the greatest business deals. Don't share classified information on your unsecured cell phone, you dipshits. That's should be the lesson learned, but not with this guy and not with MAGA. And again, if any of you guys are out there and you're in the TikTok streets, you're in the debate streets, don't let them move on. Don't let them get past it. Make them explain. Make them explain why it was okay to put that information on Signal. Then make them explain how it's not classified information, because their answer is going to be, well, the administration said. And then you get to say, oh, so you just trust them. You just trust the administration. And they're going to be left with that answer. And that answer works for morons like Justin, right? That's going to work for the MAGA loyalists. And their loyalists around them are going to be like, yeah, but not everybody's a MAGA loyalist. In fact, most people aren't MAGA loyalists. And when they hear a MAGA loyalist just admit, I just trust them, that's not going to work. That's not good. Make them say, I just trust him. I trust the administration. Make them say it, and then move on. Then you can move on. But don't let them get away. Don't get tied up in semantics. Don't let them shift the conversation to Joe Biden. Don't let them do any of that shit. Make them admit that the only reason they think this isn't classified information is because Donald Trump said so. And then you can move on. All right. Well, I'm trying to remember what this one was. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here's Trump talking about how it's no big deal. And then followed by Trump talking about how no president will ever be more strict on classified documents.
Of this, because we've had 2 perfect months. The main thing was nothing.
He's even using that too. Perfect phone call. Our months have been perfect. Perfect? By no measure have your 2 months been perfect. They have been catastrophically bad. And maybe you can turn it around, but your first 2 months have been horrific.
Happened. The attack was totally successful.
In my administration, I'm going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information.
I always say you have to learn from every experience.
Hillary's private email scandal, which put our classified information in the reach of our enemies, disqualifies her from the presidency.
This journalist, Mr. President, wants the world talking about more hoaxes and this kind of nonsense rather than the freedom that you're enabling. The president's national security advisor sent top secret emails on an unsecured server that we know our enemies were trying to access. He was sending back and forth freewheeling, and yet we see nothing there.
My communications, to be clear, in a Signal message group were entirely permissible and lawful and did not include classified information.
Well, this was a huge mistake, correct?
No. Mishandling classified information is still a violation of the Espionage Act. It started with Hillary Clinton. It has continued without accountability.
Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about
You were, you dumb bitch.
that. If there was anyone other than Hillary Clinton, they would be in jail right now. When you take something out of a skiff, if you're a senator, you know exactly what you're doing.
I don't know why that is in there. Just a reminder. I don't know who put this video together. Fuck it, let's play it.
Something out of a skiff. If you're a senator, you know exactly what you're doing.
Just showed it. I don't know who put this together. Oh, they said, by the way, January 6th. Maybe I missed that. Sorry. I was reading Tony's comment. I understand what you say when you're Batman. He thinks it's the bat signal. He's calm Gordon. Johnny said he probably thinks it's like a radio signal. That's probably right. All right. On to the next one. Here we go. Here's Caroline Levitt. Just getting absolutely demolished, bearing her own excuses. In 3 minutes, Caroline Levitt gets exposed as either an absolute fraud herself or just somebody who has to defend the indefensible. I'm going to say it's probably both.
I just spoke to the president about it, yes.
Then let me ask you if I can very quickly. In the chat, Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, details F-18s, Tomahawks, so some of the weapons that were used. He details the timing involved for this, all of which occurred 31 minutes before, as he says, F-18s would launch. The DoD manual details classified information as significant military plans, saying that is secret, that's classified. So what about, there are no methods, there are no sources, but that's not what determines what's classified. So what is it about what Pete Hegseth wrote that makes you say this is not classified?
Well, it's not just me saying that, Peter. It's the Secretary of Defense himself.
Yeah, he said it. It's not just me that said it's not classified. He said it too. The guy who leaked the classified information, he said it's not classified. Therefore, it's not just me. Bro, that excuse is wild. Did he rob a bank? Guy who robs a bank? No, I didn't rob a bank. No, he didn't rob a bank. And he even said he didn't rob the bank. Who are you going to believe? The bank who lost all the money or the guy who robbed it? Or didn't rob it? He didn't rob the bank. That's crazy. The source is the guy who did it. He didn't do it. How do you know that? Well, he said he didn't. Okay.
Who is saying this as well. And he put out a very strong statement earlier today listing all of the things that were not included in that message.
He put it out while he was doing push-ups, 40 of them. That's how strong the statement was.
That he sent to the group. And again, this message, there was no classified information transmitted. There were no war plans discussed.
Incorrect. There were war plans discussed.
Why did The Atlantic downgrade their allegation about war plans to attack plans? They're now playing word games because they know this was sensationalist.
They just said it differently. Yeah, this is so stupid. It's so brain. Guys, if it was really classified, would The Atlantic have said both war plans and attack plans? Or were they maybe being like a little more specific that time? Since there's no declaration of war, which we're supposed to have before we do shit like this, maybe they just like, well, I guess legally speaking, it's more like attack plans. Are you saying that you can leak attack plans, but you can't leak war plans? Is that the argument, Caroline? You can leak attack plans? That's the argument she's making.
spin from a reporter who is well known for doing this. We have said all along no war plans were discussed, no classified material was sent. You have the Secretary of Defense saying that. You have the director of the CIA, the director of National Intelligence, the FBI director.
Yeah, everybody who was on that chat, everybody who should lose their job for being on that chat and not doing a goddamn thing about it. All the guilty parties are saying that it's not a crime, so you should believe them. This is atrocious. Nobody believes this. There's not a Republican in the chat right now that's buying this shit. None of you. There's no way. If any of you are buying this shit, please, I've never begged somebody to come up and talk to me. Please tell me why this is a good defense.
All testifying to that under oath, and they should be trusted with that.
To be clear, Americans can make the decision for themselves, but whether you said it's not war plans. Would you characterize these as military plans, military operation plans?
I would characterize this messaging thread as a policy discussion, a sensitive policy discussion, surely, amongst high-level cabinet officials and senior staff. And I'm so glad, Peter, that you said the American public can decide for themselves, because I think the American public should decide for themselves based on the outcome of this operation.
That's fucking stupid. The American public should ignore the fact that they leaked classified documents, and instead they should look over here, and they should just not care about it. They should look at the outcome of this and then decide that nobody leaked documents. How goddamn dumb does she think you guys are? She's just mocking you guys in real time. She's like, guys, the American people, let me tell you how to think. MAGA, I'm going to tell you how to think. Don't think about it. Just think about the fact that we killed some people, and then it's not leaking classified information if you don't think about it.
And what happened in this operation? Terrorists that were allowed to run wild by the Biden administration were killed because of the direction and the determination.
There it is. There's the Biden. Remember, guys, let's make sure our messaging is tight. That's the wording they put out there. Blame Joe Biden. Talk about terrorism. By the way, we didn't need to kill him. No benefit from killing these people. We are so happy that more people are dead and we get no benefit. We're just thrilled.
Of this president and his team. And this message also shows, this messaging thread also proved that President Trump has an incredibly dynamic team who is working incredibly hard, flying all over the world to secure world peace and to fix up the foreign policy crises that the previous administration left for this team to inherit.
Yeah. So to be clear, we all in this room and around the country would agree that we're glad no American service members were harmed, and we're glad that the mission was a success. We'll stipulate that. But the president said that Pete Hegseth said none of this was classified. So given the president has seen it now, and given the president understands that significant military plans are deemed classified as secret, how does the president view none of this, which details times and weapons and more, as being not classified?
I've already been asked and answered this question. The president's thoughts on this remain the same today as they were yesterday,
On what basis,
as
I'm
well
asking?
as the
Yeah,
Secretary
nobody asked if he still thinks that. We're asking why he thinks that.
of Defense. This question has been asked and answered. There was no classified material discussed.
I mean, the Jedi mind tricks. No. I've already answered that question. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. I've answered it. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows my answer was perfect. Everything is perfect. We're perfect. We don't fuck up. Stop talking about it. I mean, this is just like the lowest level of defense, because that's all they've got. And the only reason this is their defense is because, again, they're not allowed to admit that they did something wrong, because that would reflect poorly on Trump, and Trump doesn't like it if they ever admit that they're wrong, because he's such an egomaniac. That's all this is about. Like, there's not, if they came out and just said, yeah, we did it, nothing honestly would happen. They're not going to get removed from their position. If Pete Hegseth came out and was like, you know what, I fucked up on that. I wasn't thinking. In the moment, I was excited about our plans. We had this discussion. I wasn't thinking, and then I put it in the Signal chat. Probably nothing would happen if they were just honest, but they won't be honest. And that's the real hell of it. Like, what now we can never believe anything they said. Some of us never believed him anyways. But now the MAGA folks that are here, you guys have to explain why when they lie to you, it doesn't make you distrust them. That's a weird position to be in, to be a group of people who get lied to, and then you're like, this actually makes us trust them more. because they lied so that the libs didn't win. And that's really what we care about, is owning the libs. Here's Jason Crow. He's a Democrat from Colorado, on with Will Cain on Fox News. First of all, watch Will Cain try and spin this, because Fox News is propaganda, and Jason Crow's having none of this.
I and everybody watching
could have shot him down.
Congressman, I and everybody watching know the details. The difference between your position and mine is that nobody on my side of the aisle is pretending protection. I'm not. I'm certainly not. Pretending perfection.
No, the
administration
difference.
No, hold on.
Donald Trump literally said it has been a perfect 2 months. She said the text message thread was perfect. They're exclusively saying they are perfect. Exclusively. They are not admitting anything, and they are using the word perfect. I don't know what the fuck Will Cain is talking about. I just played the clip. Donald Trump and Caroline Leavitt have both said perfect.
Protection. I'm not. I'm certainly not. Pretending perfection.
No, the
administration
no, the
isn't. No, hold on. No, hold on. The difference is the administration has admitted a mistake.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. What the fuck's he talking about? He said perfect. He said Pete Hegseth didn't make any mistake. Perfect. In fact, the only thing he said is Trump said there might be a low-level staffer who made an innocent mistake. That's as far as Trump went. And we know that that wasn't true. It was Mike Waltz. It wasn't a low-level staffer. They've admitted no fault. What is he talking about?
Demanding the type of accountability in resignations that you never did when, yes, and apples and oranges things happen that result in the death of 13 Marines. And I have to tell you, that reveals to me you don't have real national security concerns. You see this as a partisan political opportunity.
He's talking about Abby Gate. He's talking about Afghanistan. I'll get to that in a minute. But remember what he said. You guys didn't demand any transparency there. There was no transparency there, and now you're asking for it. Now you're asking for people to step down for their mistakes. Now, it's clear Pete Hegseth made a mistake, and I'll get to Abby Gate in a minute. But just remember what he's saying, because he's lying too.
That's what that lack of consistency says to me.
Will, I have spent my life in service to this country. I have taken the oath of office, which you have never taken, by the way, to put my life on the line to defend this country. And I went to a war in Iraq. I went to a war in Afghanistan twice. I have stood up time and time again to defend this nation. And I've seen my friends give their lives for this country. So do not tell me that I don't have real national security concerns, and I will not, every single night before I go to bed, every night, ask myself one simple question. Am I keeping faith with the men and women who I have a solemn obligation to keep faith? Our sons, our daughters, our brothers, our sisters that we're asking right now, where we're sitting here in the comfort of our offices and under the Capitol Dome, to go and fight for us. I gotta leave it. Are we keeping faith for them?
Congressman,
that is the simple question all of us must ask.
This is where I'm going to leave it, okay?
Yeah, cut off. Jamie, thank you. It's a great show as always. I appreciate it. All right, so let's talk about his claim. His claim that Abby Gate, that nobody demanded any sort of accountability. The Department of Defense, under Joe Biden's administration, they conducted a review. I think it took, I don't even know how long it took. Abby Gate, that was in March of 2023, or let's see, March of 2023. They started the investigation in September of 2023, and they provided the results in April of 2024. So what's that, like eight-ish months? Is that right? Whatever. So they did do an investigation. And they did say, like, if somebody is accountable, if somebody fucked up, then we're going to hold them accountable. Now, if you don't know, from Abby Gate, a suicide bomber, as the United States was pulling out of Afghanistan, a suicide bomber named, I forgot his name, at Hamid Karzai International Airport, Abby Gate, came in, and he, using a suicide vest, killed 13 American, I think they were all soldiers, right? I want to make sure I have that right. I think it was 13 American soldiers. It's ordered by Army Command in September 2013. The results of the 2-year supplemental review found that no new information disclosed in public testimony since March 2023 had any material impact on the original investigation's findings. It also confirmed that a lone ISIS suicide bomber had carried out the attack, and that the attack could not have been preventable at the tactical level. Members of the supplemental review team explained during a recent briefing. You can go look through the entire report here. You can look through all of it. You can see pictures. It was a very thorough investigation, and what they determined is because of the amount of people that were there and limited staff, that you couldn't really say like this was preventable. That's it. But there was an investigation, and again, they're saying there was no investigation, there was no accountability, and they're refusing to open an investigation. Every single thing so far that they have claimed that makes us hypocrites, there was an investigation into. And that's the strategy. It's always deflect, 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 but their deflections don't make any sense because there were investigations into all of this. Just looking at Pete Hegseth's conversation, this text should make anyone's skin crawl how juvenile he acted. Yeah. They were just, look, the reality is they didn't need to do that operation, and Pete Hegseth wants to kill all Muslims. And if you don't believe me, you should ask Pete Hegseth, who said, and I quote, "Kill all Muslims." That's a direct quote from Pete Hegseth. Now, he might have went in front of the Senate in his confirmation hearing and said, like, oh, I don't want to kill all Muslims anymore. And then his first opportunity to start bombing for no reason, he just did it. It didn't benefit the United States one bit. It benefited Europe, and Europe didn't want it to happen. This is just a maniac who's going to drag us into war. Now we're hearing inklings about bombers, B-2 bombers being stationed just outside of the Middle East, places so that we strategically could bomb Iran, which they've been talking about. Remember in the text? Remember when Stephen Miller said after Pete Hegseth announced everything? What did Stephen Miller say? He said, "This is just the beginning." What does that mean? What do we think that means? Just the beginning of what? Stephen Miller is one of those lunatics too. He wants to kill all the Muslims too. They're dragging us into war. Either Trump isn't really anti-war, or he's so disconnected from his staff and from his responsibilities as president that he doesn't even know that we're being dragged into war. Remember, like they're making this plan without him. They weren't involving him in this. They weren't involving him in that discussion. Here is now Radcliffe. I always want to say Daniel Radcliffe, but here is Director Radcliffe being asked, do you know if, and this is a fair question, Pete Hegseth has a history of drinking on the job. And although, again, he says he doesn't drink on the job anymore, and he promised that he didn't promise to stop drinking. He promised to stop drinking while he was working. Fair question to ask. Do any of you know if Pete Hegseth was drinking during this time? That's a fair question.
Additionally, the main person who was involved in this thread that a lot of people want to talk to is Secretary of Defense Hegseth. And a lot of questions were brought up regarding his drinking habits in his confirmation hearing. To your knowledge, do you know whether Pete Hegseth had been drinking before he leaked classified information?
I don't have any knowledge of Secretary Hegseth's personal habits.
Director Radcliffe, same question. Yes or no?
No, I'm going to answer that. I think that's an offensive line of questioning. The answer is no. I find it...
Why? Why is that? Tulsi had no problem answering that question. Why is it offensive? It's offensive to bring up that somebody has a history of being drunk at work. It's offensive. If you're going to appoint somebody who is regularly drunk at work, then you should know that that person is going to be checked on. If I'm running a business and I hire somebody who regularly was drunk at work, I'm going to tell that person like, hey, look, I'll hire you, but there's going to be an added layer of scrutiny here because your history says that sometimes you drink when you shouldn't. That's not an offensive line of questioning. That's a very, very fair question.
Interesting that you want to... I'm going to answer. You asked me a question.
I'll just skip it. They just scream at each other now. Jen, did you cut in right there? Okay, I thought I heard Jen cut in. Maybe not. How much time do we have? 25 more minutes? Okay. What do we want to get to? Quick reminder. Now I'm going to get into a little bit more deeper. So I want to talk about like effectively what this is, because as much as fun as it is to talk about how incompetent this administration is and how they fucked up with SignalGate, I think that we are missing the forest through the trees. And the forest through the trees is We are conducting military strikes that we don't need to conduct, and we are being dragged into a war that we don't need to be dragged into. We're abandoning our allies, and we are making the world a less safe place. And we're doing it because, like always in the United States, when economic times get a little bit turbulent, we just go to war because that increases spending, and then Americans ignore the fact that we pile on debt because they're like, oh, well, we have to because it's war. We have to protect ourselves. Here's just a reminder from Julian Assange, who I think was a hero. Some people don't.
Nearly every war that has started in the past 50 years has been a result of media lies. The media could have stopped it if they had searched deep enough. If they hadn't reprinted government propaganda, they could have stopped it. But what does that mean? Well, that means basically populations don't like wars. And populations have to be fooled into wars. Populations don't willingly and with open eyes go into a war. So if we have a good media environment, then we'll also have a peaceful environment.
But we don't. We have a media apparatus in this country that is justifying these strikes. They're focused on the incompetence. I want to know why we did these strikes. I want to know why we're killing people. I want to know why the Houthis responding to Israel blockading aid for the Palestinians is any of our goddamn business. That's what I want to know. If Israel is causing our ships to be bombed because of their actions, why are we not going after Israel? Why aren't we saying anything to Israel? Why aren't we forcing Israel to stop doing what they're doing that is causing people to attack ships? Why not? That's the peaceful way. We could do it that way. Nobody has to be bombed. Do you think there's this lie that we're told and this dehumanization of people that look different than us and who have different beliefs than the average American? And what they paint everybody in the Middle East as terrorists, as subhuman. And so they'll tell you things. Our media will tell you things like we had to. They attacked our ships, so we have to go after them. And they'll tell you that if we didn't do this, they would keep attacking our ships. And what CNN and MSNBC and Fox News aren't going to tell you is they're not going to tell you that this is 100% Israel's fault. Because Israel wants to be cruel to the Palestinians and they don't want aid to reach Gaza, people are responding to Israel. That's what they won't tell you. And they won't tell you that because, one, it's not as fun, but two, because they're in on it too. Nobody wants to take the side of anti-war in our media. Nobody does. It's great ratings for them. You know what's great for them? If we do more drone strikes tomorrow. And they have a reason to cover it. If we have a reason to cover drone strikes, and then you get to bring on Mehdi Hassan, and you get to bring on some conservative, Scott Jennings, and they get to sit across from each other, and Scott Jennings gets to tell you what awful subhuman pieces of shit the Houthis are and the people in Yemen are, and Mehdi Hassan stands across the aisle and says, look, this is an ongoing war. It's been going on forever. This is Israel dragging us in, and they each get 30 seconds, and nothing happens, and except for CNN's ratings go up. They love this shit. They're all in it, and that's what Assange is saying. Like, if we had an honest media, if all of our media was like, hey, excuse me, why the fuck did we do this? Tell us the whole story. What happened? Okay, they shot at our ships. Why did they shoot at our ships? Well, because they don't think ships should get to come in there with goods if ships can't come in for aid for the Palestinians. Okay, why is aid not coming in for the Palestinians? Well, because Israel has a blockade. Okay, so we're going to have Israel stop doing that. That seems like the most peaceful way to do this. Nope. It's not what we're going to do. It's not what our media is going to demand. And that is part of why media is dying. We are aligned. Us here in the chat, like us on the left, we are aligned with the libertarian right. We're in the same. We showed you Sagar earlier today. How many Republicans do we have to show you agreeing with us? We can't continue to allow our media to drag us into wars like this. Jeffrey Sachs is occasionally problematic. I'm just going to say that off the bat. And there are a lot of people that love everything he does. I'm not one of those people, but I appreciated this conversation he had with Judge, is it Napolitano? Is that how you say his last name? I didn't make this stuff. I didn't put the Nobel Peace Prize. The idea is that Jeffrey Sachs should get a Nobel Peace Prize. Whatever you think about Jeffrey Sachs, I don't want to talk about these two people. I want you to listen to what he has to say. And I will tell you that this is the opinion of everybody who isn't like a sycophant for their party.
This group, the Houthis, pose any threat to the national security of the United States?
Well, no major threat. They do attack shipping lines in the Red Sea region. They are, by their declaration, aligned with the resistance in Palestine, and they've been attacking ships. Is this a major security threat to the United States? No, of course not.
And what is accomplished
the ostensible? Yeah, I'm sorry. The ostensible reason for the attack, I think, was said, if I heard correctly, and I am halfway around the world in China right now, but was to warn the Iranians. So this was another proxy of a proxy war. So
remember, that's what they said. That's what it said in the group chat. Remember, when people ask about this, blame Joe Biden and then say it's because of Iran. We're warning Iran. This isn't a warning. It's an escalation. It's one, like, we got to stop acting like we haven't been here before. This is what we do. This is what our country does all the time. We're like, oh, we got to be peace through strength. When the fuck has that ever worked? When the fuck has us sending a warning shot not led to more bloodshed? It leads to more bloodshed. It leads to more radicalization. And the reality is that this is the military-industrial complex pulling the strings. They want us to use more stuff. They want us to build more bombs. They want us to have more ammunition. The military contractors like Eric Prince that are consistently like, does anybody ever wonder why all the military contractors and all the military industrial complex people fucking love Netanyahu and swear their allegiance to Israel? It's because Israel is the key to them being in war forever and ever and ever, because Israel just drags us into shit all the fucking time. And so when you have the people who make money off of war, they're like, oh, goddamn, we love Israel. You know who always hates Israel? Peace groups. There's no peace groups that are like, Israel's great. Every group that promotes world peace fucking hates Israel, because Israel by itself can't win these wars. So they just drag us into them. That's why they love Israel.
It's a group in the White House deciding let's bomb some people to send a message. This was not about fundamental U.S. national security.
And is there any military benefit to the United States by doing this? I assume none.
I think the key for me is very basic. We've discussed it repeatedly. The war in the Middle East will continue. It will spread. It's in Gaza. It's in the West Bank. It's in Lebanon. It's in Syria. It's in Yemen. It will spread as long as there is no resolution of the terrible injustice in Palestine.
Right.
The whole idea is that Israel illegally and unjustly and murderously occupies Palestinian land. It leads to resistance. In response to the resistance, Netanyahu declares war on basically the entire Middle East and most of the rest of the world these days.
Let me just say, because you're going to have Zionists in the chat here that are going to take issue with what Sachs just said there, and him saying that Israel is the source of all of this. Like, whatever. I don't care what you believe. Like, if you think that the Palestinians are more guilty or you think Israel's more guilty, I think that conversation is important to be had among historians, but it doesn't lead to peace. It doesn't. Like, regardless, like that conversation just leads to justification of war. So that's why the Zionists love to talk about October 7th, and that's why they love to talk. Like, if you've ever heard a debate with Israel and Palestine, it's basically 3 hours of people saying who started it. That's the debate every time. It's why I don't enjoy being involved in that discussion, because the reality is, like, you can argue that all day long, but the end result is that the United States gets drawn into wars and hundreds of thousands, millions of innocent people wind up dying. And that's what happens. Like maybe Israel's picked on, maybe they're not. I don't particularly care. I know that we go to war for Israel all the time, and there is no benefit to us unless you're a military contractor. That's the only benefit to the United States is military people get more money. Does it make us as American citizens more safe? No, it radicalizes more people. In fact, like think of pre 9/11, you didn't see the same fear all the time. It wasn't the fear mongering of we've got people coming to our border. We've got American jihadists. Like that really was like you had sometimes some domestic terrorism, but once we go into Iraq, once we go into Afghanistan, now we're in Yemen, Syria. We've been in Egypt. Like we've been all over the place. We create radicals everywhere we go, and then those radicals who have lost loved ones, who they feel they lost unjustly, and most of the time it is unjustly because we're not very careful with our strikes, and so we kill innocent people. Just imagine you're in your neighborhood. And you find out, let's just say you're in your neighborhood and ISIS bombs your neighborhood and it wipes out everybody. And you just happen to be at work that day and it wipes out your whole family. And everybody in your neighborhood is gone now. And then somebody goes, wait a minute, I know you care that you lost your family, but remember, one of those people was a terrorist. You wouldn't go, oh, okay, yeah, the U.S. was correct. Fuck no. You're going to say, all right, why didn't they just kill that terrorist? And then you're going to hate the United States. And then you're more likely to turn into a radical. You're more likely to then militarize. This is exactly what, again, this is why I liked Tulsi Gabbard when she ran for president for a little bit, because she talked about this shit. She was 10 toes down on anti-regime change wars. It was like the one through line for me. I'm like, I like that. Abandoned it completely.
Including, I should mention, American universities. So he's at war because anybody, any force, any group that opposes Israel's brutality in Palestine is then an object of the Israeli war machine.
And by the way, let's link it back to the start of our show, where in the United States, our government is rounding people up who are critical of Israel. Because they want to go to war. The no new war shit was bullshit. All of that was bullshit. They lied to you. Remember, like, we weren't in the war with Ukraine and Russia. We weren't in the war with Israel and Palestine. We were funding it. And now we are at war and we are doing military strikes. And that happened at the end of the Biden administration too, just to be fair. We were striking in Syria there too. But all of this stuff that they told you is absolute fucking bullshit. And you have a guy who wants to kill all Muslims as the Secretary of Defense on a chat justifying killing people for no goddamn reason. It's a fucking lie. And the thing is like Donald Trump can be swayed on any of this. As long as Donald Trump knows that it's making people in America money and that he's going to get his pockets lined, he doesn't care. You think he gives a flying fuck who dies in the Middle East? He doesn't care about our 4 soldiers we lost. He didn't even talk about that.
The sad part is we are the Israeli war machine. Israel runs the U.S. government, runs the White House, runs that group that was intercepted or caught in communication by the Atlantic magazine reporter. They're run by Israel. They're serving Israel. They're doing this for Israel. And that means that the United States is in war in places it shouldn't be in.
I'm going to stop it there. I hesitate to make this comparison, but I'm going to, and I'm just going to ask you to in good faith with me. You've seen anybody that's seen The Princess Bride? The Princess Bride as a kid never made sense to me. The Princess Bride as a kid, you have the main character. Let's see. Let me get the names of the characters so I get these right. Which, by the way, I just watched it again with my daughter. It's such a good movie. All right, so you have Wallace Shawn, who plays Vizzini, and then you have Mandy. Well, let's just use their names: Vizzini, Inigo Montoya, and Andre the Giant, who plays Fezzik. it never made sense that Vizzini was the leader. Because Vizzini wasn't actually really doing anything. He was just giving directions. And everybody outside of that would be like you look at that, you'd be like, anybody from the outside, why is Vizzini the leader there? Like, why are Fezzik and Inigo Montoya following him? Clearly, Vizzini is Israel. And I hesitate to make that. The reason I said I hesitate to make that is I don't know if Sean Wallace is Jewish or not. So I'm not making this comparison. If he is Jewish, I'm not making it because he's Jewish. But you look at that, and you look at all this chaos. The whole movie, the whole Princess Bride movie is basically Vizzini, who is a weak little bitch, causing trouble for everybody, bringing everybody else to fight each other. People that don't even want to fight each other. Andre the Giant, Fezzik didn't want to fight. Inigo Montoya didn't want to fight. Prince Humperdinck didn't want to fight. He just kidnapped somebody, and then and Wesley didn't want to fight, and he just made everybody fight each other. That's Israel. They're just like this little bitch boy that keeps making everybody go to war, and nobody can figure it out, but they keep praising Israel like Israel is unbelievable. It's like, no, Israel is just an instigator, and they never have any consequences. When I was in fact, maybe I was Israel. When I was younger, in my younger days, I did have some like rather large friends that were wrestlers, people that enjoyed fighting. I'm not a person who enjoys fighting, but I enjoy talking, and I like talking a little bit of shit. That's fun for me. So regularly, I would get my friends in a bad position. I would say too much, and then a fight would ensue. They loved it. They weren't mad about it. But that's how this goes. That's who Israel is. Like, stop fucking listening to Israel for God's sakes. The United States could end all of this right now. We could just go to Israel and we could say, look, you got to stop all this shit. And we'll stand on your border for 10 years. We'll put a military base here for 10 years, and you guys aren't allowed to use your military anymore. No military for Israel. No strikes, nothing. You guys just are going to exist. And we're going to sit our troops on your borders for 10 years because there's a lot of people that are pissed off for you. And then we're going to go and we're going to talk to each of these countries, and we're going to say, look, forever we will take away Israel's ability to have long-range weapons, and we're going to be here, and we'll act as a protector to Israel. If you attack Israel, you actually do attack us, but we're not going to let them take any actions. It's over. All of that shit ends. That's honestly like the most simple solution. We'll never get there because we need to keep the military afloat. We need to take care of AIPAC, and frankly, the Netanyahu and those that are running that country, they've got a problem with the Palestinians. They've got a problem with everybody. They want to be dominant, and the only reason they are dominant is because the United States keeps backing them up. Who would we be? Would we be Fezzik or Inigo Montoya? I'm not sure who the United States is there. I would say Inigo Montoya. He makes it through a little better. Yeah, we're Inigo Montoya. There we go. All right, we got 10 more minutes. Let me see what else I got here that can just the last 10 minutes. Yeah, I want to do this. This is just how long is this one? Okay, this one's quick. This is from a TikTok user named Preston Stew, at Preston Stew. Very underreported information here. I was going to pull up the article, but he does such a good job breaking it down that I'll just let him tell you.
So everyone's focused on that Signal chat, and we're missing the fact that we're lining up assets to strike Iran. How about that? So this is public information reported today in Defense Blog, where they say, quote, the United States is quietly preparing for a possible military operation targeting Iran's nuclear infrastructure, according to multiple indicators observed across the region. They said, in recent days, observers have noted the redeployment of several B-2 Spirit stealth bombers from the U.S. Air Force's 509th Bomb Wing to Diego Garcia, a remote base in the Indian Ocean often used for long-range strike operations. Additionally, they say there's been a bunch of KC-135 Stratotanker refueling aircraft, C-17 transport planes that have arrived just in the last couple days. And if you remember, about a week ago, we reported here that the USS Carl Vinson Carrier Strike Group has been redeployed from the Pacific to the Middle East. That means that we have 2 carrier strike groups once it gets there in probably 10, 15 days. And now an increase in B-2 stealth bombers. Don't need that for militias in Iraq or Syria. And again, this public information, a lot of messaging happening here. We're letting Iran know that these things are being moved into the region right as Trump sent the letter to Khamenei saying we got to redo this nuclear thing. Apparently there was some pretty aggressive language in there, but he offered up a 2 months ultimatum to figure something out. Now, it's not entirely clear when that 2 months started, so we have no idea when it ends, but nonetheless, this could very much just be a negotiating tactic, but I think it's worth noting that that things are kind of trending in that direction.
Muted.
Damn, I didn't even know I muted it. Thank you. How do we go about saying, like, this administration, you rip up the Iranian nuclear agreement in your first time in office, you lose oversight into Iran, and now you don't know what they're doing, what they're not doing, and then you come back in office and you're like, hey, why don't we have any oversight into what Iran is doing? And then you're like, hey, Iran, you better tell us what you're doing or else. I mean, this is so fucking scripted. It's so obvious what they're doing. Like, they want Iran to respond with violence because they want to go to war. That's the whole plan. Like, why do you think Pete Hegseth is out there every single day like, we got to prepare our soldiers, we need warriors? Because you know what you're about to do. You know goddamn well what you're about to do. Pete Hegseth is about to do what he's been wanting to do for years. Kill all Muslims. That's what he wants to do. It's been clear from day one, this guy never should have been sec def. Whatever you think about Donald Trump, either Donald Trump lied to you or Pete Hegseth is leading him into war and he's too stupid to figure it out. It's got to be one of those two things. Last video before we go, because I just want to remind people that we've done this before. We went to Iraq, we went to Afghanistan, and we asked Benjamin Netanyahu, like, as if he was some sort of expert. And just listen to Benjamin Netanyahu's prediction. This guy's never right. He is never, ever right about anything. Listen to what he said about invading Iraq. Sorry, it's quiet at the beginning, or it's muted at the beginning.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. And I think that people sitting right next door in Iran, young people, and many others will say, the time of such regimes, of such despots, is gone. There is a new age. Something new is happening.
And that is speculation on your part, or you have some evidence to that effect?
I was asked the same question in 1986. I had written a book in which I had said that the way to deal with terrorist regimes, well, with terror, was to deal with the terrorist regimes. And the way to deal with the terrorist regimes, among other things, was to apply military force against them.
The way we did in Afghanistan.
The way, for example, I want to answer your question.
Well, I guess I'm running out of time, so I quickly was trying to get there. We've done, I think, what you proposed in Afghanistan, yet I haven't seen that sort of neighborhood effect.
Well, I think there's been an enormous effect. The effect was, we were told that there would be a contrary effect. First of all, people said that there would be tens of thousands of people streaming into Afghanistan, zealots who would be outraged by America's action, and this would produce a counter-reaction in the Arab world.
But I think you're now saying that when you take an...
It did. Now, the part about streaming into Afghanistan, I don't know about that. But like the existence and the appearance of very strong terrorist cells happen. In fact, you can look at Palestine and the Palestinians choosing to have Hamas as their leadership because they had no protection, and so they had to side, and that's what you see with these governments who want protection. Like, sometimes it gets to the point where they feel like they're not going to be safe unless they align with what we call terrorist groups, which are malicious. He was wrong about that. He was wrong since 1986, and we're still listening to this motherfucker. How many more times does he have to be wrong? We're still listening to Netanyahu? We're still putting up the Israeli flag? We're still going to war for this guy? I mean, I guess you should expect it out of Republicans. They still think trickle-down economics is going to work. Like, talk about banging your head against a wall. We're still listening to Netanyahu after all this time?
Actually, like we did in Afghanistan, we're going to see all the other countries as fold.
No, what we saw is something else. Be saw everybody streaming out of Afghanistan. The second thing we saw is all the Arab countries and many Muslim countries trying to side with America, trying to be okay with America. The application of power is the most important thing in winning the war on terrorism. If I had to say, what are the 3 principles of winning the war on terror? It's like, what are the 3 principles of real estate, the 3 L's, location, location, location? The 3 principles of winning the war on terror are the 3 W's, winning, winning, and winning. The more...
That's so stupid. Yeah, winning, yeah. The best way to win is to win. Fucking brilliant. That's incredible. How do you come up with that? How do you come up with that so fast? How you planning on winning the football game tonight? Well, 3 keys to winning tonight's game. We got to win, win, and win. All right, you're fired, sir. You no longer are a coach. Nobody was like, hey, idiot, that doesn't make any fucking sense. You have to be forceful. Win, win, win. Why can't you win with diplomacy? Why can't you win by telling this guy to stop bombing people all the fucking time? Why can't you? Because we got too many bloodthirsty people in America, too. We have too much anti-Islam hatred. It's ironic that, that we spend all this time comparing religions. All the fucking time. And it's why we go to war. Be honest. We go to war with other countries in the Middle East because Christians believe that Muslims are evil. And I'm not going to speak for Muslims because I don't know them, so I'm not going to speak for Muslims. I don't know what they think about Christians. I'm sure a lot of them think Christians are evil. But that's why we do it. Why do we hate the Middle East? Because they look different than us. Why after September 11th was like anybody in a hijab harassed? Why were we afraid? Why did Fox News lead every segment with, they're building a new mosque in Oklahoma City. Should this be allowed? Because nobody understands it. We're fighting these religious wars. At some point on earth, are we ever going to learn our fucking lesson that religion is dumb and we shouldn't fight over it? People shouldn't die over religion. We got to knock that shit off. And we got to really, most importantly, stop listening to this idiot.
The more victories you amass, the easier the next victory becomes. The first victory in Afghanistan makes the second victory in Iraq that much easier.
Did it, though? It didn't. He was wrong about that, too.
The second victory in Iraq will make the third victory that much easier, too, but it may change the nature of achieving that victory.
I like this. I haven't seen this video, but it says how incompetence could actually be a lifeline. Most important thing we should learn from all this is we need to stop listening to Benjamin Netanyahu. We need to stop listening to Israel. We need to stop going to war. And the hell of it is that 6 months from now, we're all going to be sitting here saying this exact thing while we're probably at war. It's going to happen. And I don't know. I don't have a great deal of faith that the United States will ever learn their lesson. And it's devastating. Somebody at the start this show said, go join the military. Fuck no. I have no interest in going over and murdering innocent people or murdering people who hate me because of what my country has done. I'm not interested in that. I do need to go. I ran out of time. Thank you guys so much for the support today. You can catch me tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time right here on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, sometimes on TikTok. Tomorrow's Friendly Friday, so make sure the last hour of the show tomorrow we take friendly calls, so make sure you're in the Discord if you want to join Friendly Friday tomorrow. His accent is weirdly gone in that clip. That's a good point. I got distracted there. Other than that, all the links are in our link tree. You can find our merch. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Thank you specifically to Bider and Court for posting stuff on Instagram for us. The editors, Ashley and Hoofy, for putting up clips and editing those together. And of course, Jen for keeping it all together. I'll catch everybody tomorrow morning. Stay cute and cool and have a...
Wait, hold on.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Tanya was posting stories for us today. So
thanks,
I want
Tanya.
to thank her special today.
Oh, you sent that to me. Sorry, I missed that. Thanks, Tanya. Appreciate it. All right, everybody, stay cute and cool and have a great summer. Thanks, Rye. I see your super chat. Thank you.